Hello and welcome to episode 244 of the Random Nintendo Podcast. I'm Jason.
I'm Angel.
That was almost a palindrome.
What's
the next palindrome?
Was it?
When's the next palindrome?
The next palindrome should be 250.
Well, it was
252. So every 10. Okay. I'm
Yep, up until we get to episode 300, and that's every third in the set. So it's very predictable. But and your name is?
I already said my name.
You did?
Yep.
I didn't
Open
hear
your ears.
Well,
or clean them, I guess.
Or something. Yeah. Well, anyway, we're calling this episode "Tis the Award Season" because, as we mentioned in our past few shows, this is our big award episode, as we'll be discussing both the Game Awards and our individual picks for Game of the Year. But much like the Game Awards, we're going to be talking about a whole lot of other things and not awards. We're going to talk about news. We're going to talk about announcements. We're going to talk about world premieres by other people. And all this will be from the Game Awards themselves, some stuff that happened after the Game Awards. You know, we'll have impressions of Sephiroth and Smash Bros. We'll have the Indie World Showcase, the current state of Nintendo's esports scene. Plus, we're going to be looking at Nintendo's November sales numbers and telling you about one final giveaway we're doing to close out 2020. So it's actually a lot in one episode. Like, it shouldn't be this much. It feels like a lot of stuff. But we have timestamps over at the blog post at random.com. Stick around to the end for those contest details. I mean, really, all people need to know is this whole episode is bookended by awards. Like, we're going to close out the show with the ones that really matter, our Game of the Year picks. But we can start, I think, with the scrappy underdog at the top here, which is the Game Awards. Did everyone watch the Game Awards? Should probably start there.
I watched them.
Really. I stopped after the Smash announcement.
So you watched approximately 90 seconds of the Game Awards, of a 3-hour-long show.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, Kevin, since you watched it, what did you think of the show this year overall? Like, just like the format, the ratio of things. How'd you feel about coming out of it?
I definitely wish they focused more on the awards. And I think this is a change that we've been seeing over the last couple of years, where I feel like nobody really goes to the Game Awards for the awards at this point. They just go for the announcements. It's almost like its own little E3. I kind of didn't like that. I didn't like how, like, what's her name? Sydney Goodman would just rattle off 3 awards and that's it.
In the middle of the show, Jeff Keighley rattled off like 5.
Yeah,
they had a tweet that had all the winners in one tweet, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, exactly. I think the only there was a couple of games that did get their own little segments: best performance, best accessibility, and then best obviously Game of the Year, and a couple of other ones. But some of the more genre awards, I wish they did actually spend time showing us the recipients and their acceptance speeches, that kind of thing.
I do wonder on some level if, like, the award show portion of the show did suffer a bit more than the already, like, downward slope it was on because of the pandemic. Like, it wasn't anyone's fault, really. You know, coordinating a show like this, in fact, might actually be harder, because I know for sure that it costs them more. Jeff Keighley said that, but, you know, that's 400 people that have to COVID test every day to run this thing. But also, like, the fact that it wasn't a centralized location, like, I wonder if, like, the lack of a single gathering spot for everyone was a big part of why they did shove so many awards.
Had to pay to show up on this.
Yeah, that too. But that's almost like the weird silver lining of the situation, because it's so much easier to get celebrities to commit if you're Jeff Keighley and want that star power, because they're all just sitting around doing nothing right now.
Sure.
But like, I do wonder if, like, I know if you can't get everyone in one room, like, it's because the thing that stuck out to me wasn't even that they didn't have the awards as prevalent. It's like, even when they had awards, there were only like 4 acceptance speeches over the course of 3 hours. And I don't know. I think that was partly because, like, they couldn't get everyone on Zoom, or they couldn't figure out a way to, like, have good connections, or I don't really know. Like, but the pandemic definitely, like, reared its face, so to speak, on the award show. Like, they did a good job, like, building a set and stuff, but I agree that, like, the award portion was kind of lacking. And on some level, again, probably due to the nature of everything, I feel like the spectacle was kind of missing. Like, the set piece performances and the set piece and the performances and all that. Like, they built a cool set, but, like, I don't know, like, I feel like they had half the number of performances as last year. And one of them, Persona 5's, which I imagine you were pretty jazzed about, was, like, shoved into the pre-show, which was odd.
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. It wasn't. No, actually, it does make sense, but
it was about as flashy as the other ones.
Yeah, but like I'm totally fine with it. It's just I don't know how else you would make that flashy in a time of pandemic.
And I do appreciate that they took advantage of not being in a central place to do the booking equivalent of, I guess, stunt casting. I mean, like getting the London Philharmonic to play a Mario medley in like a legendary place.
Yeah,
like
you're
Abbey
not going to
Road.
fly them out to Microsoft Theater just with
totally.
no audience. So.
Yeah, so and just that idea of like that Mad Lib of a sentence I just said, the London Philharmonic playing Mario at Abbey Road, like that's really cool. And I did enjoy that weirdly short 2 minutes of medley, but yeah, like it definitely didn't have like the visual, like look, it's a big crazy whatever, which I get obviously, and I do appreciate that Keeley and his crew, like they tried to make it look cool, like they tried to do spectacle. They had the set in LA that had like a translucent screen in front of another screen, so like when they were transitioning between songs in a Mario medley or the Game of the Year medley, like they'd put footage or logos on like a translucent screen with the orchestra playing behind it, so it kind of had like a visual pizzazz. But yeah, I don't know, it just wasn't the same, I guess. Like even, Eddie Vedder doing Last of Us Part 2, the song from Last of Us Part 2, that's a huge get, like Pearl Jam. And then they're just like, oh, just play it out of your studio. Don't bother. You can have your lights in the background just flashing willy-nilly. It's cool. Don't like set a mood. It's okay. And it's just kind of like, that felt a little off. But I mean, it was really cool they booked him.
You can't blame them.
No, I'm not really blaming him. I'm just saying it felt different as a result. And I think them trying to work around that with stuff like the stunt bookings and the stage, like they really did try. It's not for lack of trying. It's just, reality of 2020, I guess. And I'm being super nitpicky, I know. But it does, in my mind, sort of change the tone of the show a little. Yeah, but it was the biggest downside was probably the lack of speeches and lack of really like a lot of not really many industry people. To your point, Kevin, about the star power they're going for. Like it was very like Gal Gadot doesn't really have a direct connection. Christopher Nolan doesn't really have a direct connection. Tom Holland, like sure he's in Uncharted, but he was there for what, 45 seconds? Less?
Yeah,
15?
he was there. He was pretty much there to be like, hey, I am going to play Nathan Drake. Peace. And then who do you who do you hand it back to? Was
Nolan
it
North?
Nolan North? Okay.
Nolan North. Yeah. He was like, and here's the other guy that played Drake. Nathan Drake, I mean. But yeah, it's and like some of them were okay. Like Brie Larson, I thought made sense because she's a known gamer and everything. But it would have been kind of nice to have some big name game people be more involved. Like they brought in some to present on stage, but it definitely felt like there's a bit of a disconnect there.
And like
anyone in particular that you were hoping for
that route.
Anyone I was hoping for? I don't know. Like one thing I missed that they used to do is the Game of the Year, if I remember correctly, in past years was presented by someone involved with the previous Game of the Year. Wasn't it? So it would have been kind of nice if they did that again, but instead, how was
Vin Diesel involved?
Oh, that's right. That's right. He also fights dinosaurs now. Who knew? But yeah, you're right. They didn't do that. But was it? There's one award. Oh, it was Content Creator of the Year, which they did continue the trend of with Jack. What's his name? Septiceye or whatever. So yeah, I guess. Yeah, so I guess they did do that, but I don't know. Like it just felt like I don't know who it would be, honestly, now that I think about it. But maybe they got everyone they could, because it's mostly voice actors that they had show up on stage and like from a distance with Jeff.
Well, I know a lot of celebrities got into Twitch this year, so like I don't know, you could have easily had T-Pain on there. Terry Crews
Mike Shinoda
is Mike Shinoda. Terry Crews is also big into gaming, and he's sort of gone to Twitch. I don't know. You could have had. I feel like you could have had
closer associations.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, honestly, like from the creative team's perspective, Terry Crews versus Tom Holland, like versus Gal Gadot. Yeah, so I get why they did it. Yeah, but the one thing I did like about the remote show, it's really small, but I found it, and I said this on Twitter after, but I found it very endearing that when the awards that were presented happened and people won, like multiple winners didn't mute all their devices and you could hear their phones in the background like blowing up and buzzing and dinging and all that, which, very small thing, but like it kind of shows in a way that having a bunch of people sitting in a room clapping. Yeah, it shows like the actual significance and excitement of these awards to those people more so than just an audience of people going like, good job. So like that was kind of it felt more organic, like a more organic type
of. Who knows
how
that's going to sound in the audio version.
Oof, I don't know. That was a clap.
I'm gonna have a great time trying to edit around that.
Sorry, that was a gentle clap.
Yeah, well, I didn't watch the award show. I was kind of like keeping up on Twitter, like for the like sort of like who was winning and losing on certain categories. And there were like some clips that I did watch, and one that like kind of like to what you said about like just like nice little touches about the fact that, like, you know, like they're all working from home, and well, not working from, they're all like accepting the rewards from home, and some of the reactions almost felt like a little more authentic. Like the one that I felt like I was kind of like, oh, like that's really nice. Was the No Man's Sky winner. Like you could like really see in his face and his reaction, like just like how surprised he even won that, like just surprised that he won. And it's almost like he like knew in the bag that it was like, yeah, there's no way I'm getting this, but I don't know.
It really, that award to me really shows that a game having a rocky launch does not mean it's dead forever.
Yeah, I mean,
like
if
the
anything,
idea of like a game comes out and that's it.
If anything, like to put the pressure on them that like if they really turn it around, I mean, it's like there's no reason why it shouldn't be them after all the hard work they did.
I think what surprised me about No Man's Sky was the fact that one I think was voted on by Twitch viewers, and Twitch viewers can be some of the meanest people on the internet. So you'd be able to give it the what was the best ongoing game? Yeah, best ongoing game. To give it some No Man's Sky support. That's huge.
It was not just the best ongoing. It was the first time that Fortnite that I can recall didn't win. So not only did they win, they beat a streak. That's like, you know, when another show beats The Daily Show for the Emmy, which for a long time the Daily Show, and then John Oliver did, and everyone's like, whoa. So like it was like doubly impactful in that way because Fortnite had that on lock for like 4 years.
Wow.
But yeah, it's maybe it gives hope to CD Projekt Red. Like, hey, maybe you can turn around Cyberpunk. I don't know, or maybe not. It might be too far gone. But but yeah, it is interesting that like a game coming out does not mean a game is done. Which obviously we know from all the events and stuff like, you know, DLC, but like to see No Man's Sky do such a 180 was pretty impressive. And I also think it's worth knowing that like this thing has a huge audience now, the Game Awards. Like it kind of explains why they did less awards and more announcements, and why they did fewer presenters who were gamer people and more like mainstream guy. Because like, yeah, for the true gamers like us, Terry Crews or T-Pain would be a little more, especially Kevin, since you're a Twitch guy, would be a little more close to home. But like for the big audience, it makes sense because they over 45 platforms had 83 million live streams. 8.3 million were concurrent. That is an 84% jump over last year's 45 million, which in and of itself is a 73% jump over 2018's 26 million, which in itself was a 128% jump over the 11.5 million of 2017. So like this thing is growing exponentially to crazy like numbers. I mean, as I tweeted the day they announced the numbers, like the Game Awards are basically no longer in the viewership category of like award shows like the Oscars or the Grammys. The number of the viewership number is now approaching Super Bowl territory.
Now, to be
they still have like 20.
To be
it
fair,
is not the whole show. Yes.
Do you think that they will reach the same numbers next year, assuming the pandemic?
I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't. And also to be fair, when I say they're approaching, and when I say they're approaching Super Bowl territory, they're still 20 million away from the lowest Super Bowl, but that's closer than the 40 million or so ahead of the Oscars they now are. So they are in, you know, they're closer to the Super Bowl, but I mean, at the very least, I honestly didn't think
it'll still be bigger than the year before this last one. Because I think it's safe to say that they will maintain at least a good number of those new viewers.
Probably, because that's the thing is like if you tuned in and wanted game announcements, like they have basically usurped E3, Gamescom, all of them. This is the destination for big game reveals. It is a 3-hour block. Technically, Jeff always says 2.5, but it's 3 hours. Where they basically every company gets a shot to announce whatever they want. And
I guess unlike the other ones,
it
still kind of justifies its existence by being an award show. Or by calling it
exactly.
An award
show. It's in a very interesting middle ground. And I keep thinking this is the year that it can't be topped in numbers. Like last year, I was like, geez, like, you know, 45 million people, 84% jump. Or sorry, not 84. That was a 73% jump last year. Like there's no way they're topping that again. That's crazy. That's bigger than the Oscars. That's 2 Emmy or Grammy shows put together. And yet this year it went even higher. So part of it's because they keep adding on new networks. So like in India, they added Disney Plus Star as a broadcaster for the first time, which means it was actually available. Like you go to Disney Plus or Star, which are two of the biggest platforms in India, and there it was front and center. So like they keep finding new, and in China it's on like 10 different streaming services. So, they keep finding new ones, but at some point there's only so many countries. Like at some point they got to max this out, right? But I think you're right, Angel, that they're probably not going to lose anyone. Because even though we may want more awards, ultimately the things that resonate the most are the announcements, and those there were a bunch of. But before we get to the announcements, maybe we should talk about the namesake of this thing, the awards. Kevin, you jotted down all our predictions, right? How'd we do?
I guess you just want to go through all of the predictions.
I guess we should, yeah. Or that probably makes the most sense. Then we could just be sad when we get them wrong. And also, whoever gets the most right, what happens? Or the most wrong?
I don't know. Bragging rights, I guess?
Oh, that's boring. Okay.
Well, all right. So of the ones that we talked about, we talked best multiplayer, family game, fighting game, action adventure, mobile game, indie, best debut. I made a prediction for best game direction and then game of the year.
Game of the year.
So best multiplayer, I was the only one that got it right with Among Us. You guys
said Fall Guys, right?
Oh no! So I said Fall Guys should get it. Angel said that Fall Guys should get it, but Jason, you said Among Us should get it, but you said that it would ultimately go to Fall Guys.
Wow, I was so close.
Yep. Then Family Guy.
Then Peter Griffin came out and gave an award.
Yeah, and then Family Game went to Animal Crossing, which we all said would get it.
Yep.
Fighting Game, we were all wrong. We all said Grand Blue Fantasy when Mortal Kombat 11 got it. Best Action, Hades, we all agreed should get it, and it did get it. Best Action Adventure, both of you said that Miles Morales would take it. I said that I wanted Miles Morales to take it, but Last of Us 2 took it, so I got that one right. Best Mobile Game, Among Us took it. We all said Among Us would take it. Best Indie Game, Hades took it. Best Debut, Angel didn't choose something, but Jason got that one right with Phasmophobia. Game Direction, I said I wanted Hades to take it, but Last of Us 2 took it. That's what I said would win. And then, of course, Game of the Year, all of us said that Last of Us would take it. Angel and Jason, you guys said that you would want to see Animal Crossing taking it. I said I want to see Hades take it, but Last of Us 2 was the night's big winner.
Yeah, for the lulz. It was kind of, it felt clear it would win it. Any game that would make us talk for over an hour about it definitely has something going for it.
I remember that on QC where I was like, you guys were talking, I was saying like, I have nothing to contribute. It's been like 55 minutes. What do I do? But
it's nice.
It's nice not hearing me talk. I know, but I think those predictions validate that we are pretty average in our assessments of the industry. So we can take that average assessment skill and apply it to all the news as announced. But yeah, that's so. Who got the most, Kevin?
Predictions right?
You?
Me?
Yeah. Followed by
like
completely forgot. Last of Us 2 came out this year. Actually, I was starting to feel
this year's so weird.
Yeah, I was starting to feel like no, it's not feel. It's completely true. Like of all the years, this is definitely the year that I've played the least amount of new games. Like I think Last of Us 2 is actually the only new game I've actually completed. This just hasn't. I don't know.
Which is gonna make our game of the year conversation later weird.
Yeah, and not even kidding. Like I literally went through a list of like every single game that released on Switch this year, like download only or physical. And I did get Paper Mario, but I'm waiting for someone to catch up because we're kind of trying to do like a book club thing of sorts. But you kind of need everyone to participate.
That someone's me, and this is the second time you called me out on a recording, and the first time didn't work, but maybe the second time will.
Yeah, and there wasn't much. Like, there's one game I'll mention later when we get to the actual part that like could have potentially been a contender, but I don't think there's anything that like if I had like an annual award show for like Nintendo Games of the Year that I've played, I would probably cancel it this year just because even of the ones I did finish, I don't think any of them like like a bar that would make me want to award them an award. Like I don't want to just give an award by default just because you're the only one I played. Like I feel like you still have to really give me a long lasting impact. And I honestly even forgot I beat Last of Us 2 this year. I enjoyed it, but yeah.
I think you're forgetting the clear choice, jump rope challenge.
I
Obviously.
I forgot that even existed.
It was so impactful. It just went straight through your head. It just plowed right through your head, back out the other side. Yep.
I mean,
no, but it, yeah.
Actually, no, I wouldn't close it this year. I would actually give it to Donkey Kong Country 2, Switch Edition. I'm going to call it that because having a save state completely changes the game. So it's basically like, it is the Switch Edition, and it's new and it came out this year, and it did beat it. So congratulations, Donkey Kong Country 2. You get your award early.
Well, save that to them.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you gotta save it, man. You gotta save it. But we should talk about the meat and potatoes of the Game Awards, which you would think would be the award,
that's not the actual one. That's a Game Award style throwing an award out at some point.
That's the best ongoing game.
Yeah.
Best ongoing.
Even before the awards start, like how many did they give out
series.
before everything even happened? Like I know
7, 8. They did all the esports related ones in the span of about 20 seconds. It's pretty funny. Like in past years, they'd have them go up on stage, like best, like Sonic Fox won one year, and like they would go put them on stage. This year, they're just like, "Hey, esports? Well, okay, we're done anyway." Like it was so fast. It was just Sidney Goodman just reading them, literally just reading a cue card. But anyway, yeah, we'll get to the real awards for us later. But yeah, the meat and potatoes of the Game Awards are weirdly enough the announcements and not the awards. And there were a lot of announcements, and I know, Angel, you were paying a little less attention, but Kevin, generally speaking, like this year versus other years, how do you feel about like the magnitude of the news? Like, was it a good year, a bad year?
I would say bad year, honestly.
Really? Well, how'd you rate last year? Just for a reference point for fun.
Last year was okay at best.
Okay, so what makes you think this year was poor by comparison? Just lack of big ones, or?
I guess so. I mean, personally, nothing got me hyped. The 2 trailers I think would get everybody hyped, I think were kind of useless. EA announcing
Back 4 Blood
Dragon
didn't
Age.
get your jollies going?
Oh, no, you're right. You're right. I totally forgot about Back 4 Blood. That game looks awesome for sure.
So awesome you forgot it.
But like the 2 big
He's
ones.
like, I got nothing for that. So let's go.
Yeah, he's like, well, you're right.
I mean, yeah, you're totally right. But I think like the ones that got everybody excited were Dragon Age and Mass Effect,
Which were so.
I thought, what worthless trailers.
Me too.
Dragon Age, that's the second time that's been shown, and the first time they showed like a JPEG. This time they showed a CGI trailer, and then by Mass Effect, it was like Mass Effect will continue. Like 2 weeks ago, you guys announced that there was a new Mass Effect game. Like,
well, if you had doubts in the last 2 weeks, they're confirming that it will now continue.
Oh man,
because a bunch of people just left BioWare, didn't they?
Well, two people left.
Like their head guys, though. So they had to, take over the ending of the Game Awards and run a CG trailer to remind you, don't worry, we still want to make money, so it's still coming. But yeah, no, I agree. I agree that they were kind of worthless. No, I agree. I completely agree.
Aside from that, nothing else got me really excited. That one game from the Black Desert? Yeah, the game from the Black Desert developers, Crimson Desert, I think that's what it's called.
Oh, yeah, the Dragon game, right?
Yeah. No,
I just remember you texting me.
Not the Dragon game.
Not the Dragon.
Some other game. Am I thinking something else?
Are you thinking the Calico Effect or whatever it's called?
No, that was that one's the Callisto Project. That's from the guy that made Dead Space in the PUBG universe of all universes.
Yeah, how random was that? The PUBG expanded universe. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess if League of Legends can do it with that single player game.
PUBG.
The PUBG.
Yeah, the PUBG. But
no, I agree. I
forget the name of it. It's from the guys that make Black Desert Online. So that game seems kind of cool. But aside from that, that's pretty much it.
I do think Perfect Dark coming back was kind of cool, just in concept. I mean, it's too early to say it was a CG trailer, but in concept, like that was kind of nice to see. But yeah, I think for me there were less big announcements. Like even the biggest, like you said, Dragon Age and Mass Effect are just like, hey, remember these games? Because one day we'll sell it to you again. Just wait. But like the what we did see, the diversity I thought was a little better than in past years. Like the variety of the types of games. Like it was, it wasn't all brown and beige tinted shooters. There's like all sorts of different types of games. There's so much diversity. There were 2 games about road trips. Like, what are the odds?
Oh yeah.
But actually, honestly, one of those, like, I don't know if it's ever coming to Switch or not, but Open Roads, I'm actually
Take Me Home.
Very interested in. I think it's like the song. No, but it's being developed by folks behind Gone Home. It has Kerry Russell and Caitlin Denver doing the voice acting. But basically, anything that Annapurna Interactive puts out these days, or sticks their name on, I should say, I seem to kind of just be like, oh, I should keep an eye on that. Because like they got me with Sayonara Wild Hearts. They got me with What Remains of Edith Finch, both of which, by the way, are currently on sale in the eShop. If anyone hasn't bought them, I recommend both. They almost had me with 12 Minutes until it was announced as an Xbox Game Pass exclusive. But I really like the story-driven games they publish. And this one about like a mother and daughter going on a road trip to uncover like abandoned family properties and the secrets within them. It reminds me of Edith Finch a little in concept. It has a lot of potential. I really like the art style. I'm hoping it comes to Switch, but like stuff like that sort of caught my eye more versus, Vin Diesel fighting dinosaurs in Arc 2. Although the voice cast for that cartoon version of Arc
is stacked, boy.
It's great. Like, when did Arc get so big? I didn't know it did that well.
They're releasing their 5th expansion this year, I think, which is like,
I had no idea.
I remember hearing about the first expansion way back then. Like, I didn't know that they were still continuing that game.
Yeah, I get, but even just like the range of what we were just talking about. So a, road trip story about a mother and daughter, Vin Diesel punching dinosaurs, Perfect Dark. There's this weird 2D PlayStation game called Fist, which was like Metroid meets Bionic Commando by way of Star Fox. Like it's this rabbit and it's like super action-y looking. Like all these different things were all in the same show. And it doesn't feel like it was like in past years or the early years where it was always just like, oh, you have to have the biggest AAA titles and nothing else. Like it really did feel like
just a far new game. It Takes Two.
Oh yeah, It Takes Two. That one looks really fun actually. He's a crazy dude, but that one looks really fun. Like all of it, just there's so much like it really did feel like the industry is diversified and isn't just doing like gritty beige shooters like I was saying before. So that was kind of nice to see.
Was there a PlayStation game shown where they
there
showed
2
the PlayStation Studios logo?
Oh,
I don't
know about that, but there were 2 PS5 exclusives shown, I believe. I'm forgetting the name of both. One of them's like a weird made up word, and the other one is not.
Oh, that's right, Returnal.
Yeah, there it
Returnal.
is. Returnal.
They did the PT fake out at the start, which they knew what they were doing there.
Of course they knew what they were doing there. Yeah, I mean, they know that's the funny thing is I feel like the companies that announce the games have a better grasp of what type of people are watching the show sometimes than the production team who's just trying to get like celebrities and stuff. Like to the average Joe, like a PT fake out is meaningless, but to like the hardcore gamers, like the core of the crowd that's watching this thing, that's a nod right there. So it's kind of funny how that works. I guess that's marketing for you though. But if we do want to start like focusing in on the Nintendo side of things, unless there's any other games you want to call out just in general, but it sounds like you're kind of on it this year.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Back 4 Blood
so if
awesome.
we want, what did?
Back 4 Blood looks awesome though.
Oh yeah. Now that you remember it.
Yep.
But yeah, it and obviously nothing can compare to like announcing a console last year. Like obviously we're not getting megatons of that scale, but if we do start focusing on the Nintendo side of things, I thought that the Switch actually had a pretty decent presence this year, mainly thanks to third parties. Like the pre-show had 2 indies that were Switch bound. One is Shady Part of Me, which is like a shadow-based platformer. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you guys remember the Wii game Lost in Shadow by Hudson, where like you're manipulating foreground objects to make pass for the background shadows to then let character like platform. This seems kind of like that, and they shadow dropped it then and there at the show. No pun intended, I just realized. But then also in the pre-show was a game called Sea of Solitude, which EA originally published under its indie partnership arm of EA Originals, I think they call it. And honestly, it looks pretty cool. Like, do either of you know anything about Sea of Solitude? This is a director's cut, so it's been out already, but it seems interesting.
Nope.
So
the name definitely sounds familiar, though.
Yeah, I did a little digging. It got pretty good reviews, but basically it's, from what I know, so far. It's a game about conquering your demons by making them literal demons, and then you go through this action adventure game that, at least in the gameplay in the trailer, kind of remind me of a mix of like Wind Waker's visuals and kind of Beyond Good and Evil's gameplay setup, right down to like the hovercraftish boat and all that. But for this Switch version, what's kind of interesting is EA is not publishing it. The director's cut's being published by Quadratic Dream, the people behind Detroit and Heavy Rain, which is super out of left field.
Wait,
and
what's the name of the company?
Quadratic Dream, isn't that it?
Quantic Dream.
Or Quantric, yeah.
Quadratic Dream.
Why did I get Quadratic? I don't know why my notes say Quadratic. I probably typoed, or it auto-corrected.
Collect yourself.
Yes, Quantic Dream. Stupid MacBook. No, but anyway, they're publishing it now, and they're adding some stuff like a photo mode and gyro support, and it looks interesting. I think the most promising thing is it's getting a demo in early March before it comes out. So, like, it caught my eye, and I can actually see if, like, I'm digging the vibe of it, but I can actually see if it, like, clicks or not and actually play it, which, for an indie, I feel like a lot of them, like, of this scale don't do a demo, so that's kind of nice. But anyway, then we got to the main show, and coming to Switch is the likes of Evil Dead. Yes, that is Switch-bound. And a release date for the long overdue Super Meat Boy Forever, which is this coming Wednesday, the 23rd of December. And Angel, I imagine you're a Meat Boy fan. I imagine you must be into that.
Not really. You'd think so. But I was really into Meat Boy when it had the original structure that it did. This one is... I mean, it's pretty similar to DNA, but it's more of a roguelike. It's like a roguelike endless runner. And, I mean, it looks fun. I'm sure it is fun, but it kind of lost the appeal that very tightly pre-designed levels did. So, because of that, I kind of lost like some interest in it. Like, if anything, I was more... Like, all it has going for it at this point for me is just, like, the fact that it's Super Meat Boy, which is a character that I do enjoy. Like, I do like that character. So I may check it out, but it's literally, yeah, after seeing like after that initial announcement that it was just like a roguelike endless runner, I guess it did get me less excited, and now seeing that it does have a release date pretty soon, it seems actually. I think it's the 24th or 23rd.
Literally Wednesday. This Wednesday, the 23rd, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm sure I'll pick it up eventually.
How roguelike-y is it? Because they said in the trailer for it that, like, you know, there's thousands of meticulously crafted levels. So like, is it chunks that get shuffled?
Essentially, like, what they did is they have, like, pre-made chunks, and they're mixed and matched. Chunks. So, if anything, like, that does sound cool in theory, but at the same time, it also makes it kind of feel like I guess if you play it long enough, like, the more you play it, the more you're going to start to see, like, chunks, like, I guess, like, repeat. And I don't know, it to me just sounds something that's not great on paper. I mean, I'm sure like maybe none of this is an issue when you actually play it, because thousands of chunks does sound like is a lot. But I did play like Binding of Isaac for a long time, and that one is also kind of in the same vein where it does have chunks of tiles that are created. And after a while, you do start to see a lot of like repetition, and it does kind of like wane on you a little when you're like over 100 hours in and you're just kind of trying to get through the beginning because you've seen it so many times and so many things that there's like just no variety. You're just kind of like, all right, just got to get through this and to get to the good stuff, essentially. And I'm hoping that's not the case for this one. Like, I'm hoping the earlier portions of the game don't become a drag just so you can get to the end. But I don't know. It's a game that I feel like the more I hear about it, the less excited I am. But I am not going to count it out until I actually play it. I'm just not going to be in a rush to actually play it.
Sure, that unless reviews somehow make it sound glowing, are glowing that, it feels just like the real one, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, by now, like, I'm pretty sure everyone already knows that, like, Edmund McMillen has nothing to do with this game. Like, Team Meat has since gone in a different direction with the teammate that he worked on with the original game. And Edmund's just been doing his own thing. If anything, The End Is Nigh is more of a spiritual successor to Super Meat Boy. It's just a little slower because Meat Boy is a really fast dasher. But that was pretty much like what I really wanted in like a Meat Boy sequel. So I kind of got that feel already of like that tight, difficult platforming, like you could say.
Right. Well, how long has this game been in development? Like 6 years, 5 years? Like, I feel like we talked about
wasn't it on the Wii U?
Back in the
wasn't it supposed
WiiWare
to be
days.
on the Wii U or something like that?
Wasn't it in the Wii days almost? Or no, it was Wii U.
No, not on the Wii days. I don't think so.
It was early Wii U, right? Like when they were first talking about the eShop, this was one of the first games that they were going to highlight until they didn't.
I think so. That sounds right.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was one of the other Switch games. Although it's funny because at the Game Awards, all they said was it was coming to the Epic Game Store, and it wasn't until the Indie World showcase that they confirmed the Switch version comes out the same day as the Epic Game Store, which was kind of a weird pattern that we'll get into a little later. But like the Game Awards, everything Nintendo related felt very like, hey, here's the start of something. Wait till next week, and we'll give you the rest of the news. Like here's Sephiroth and Smash, but sit tight till next week. Or here's Indie World. Here's a 30-second commercial, but sit tight till next week. It is really odd. But Nintendo didn't even have one big game at the show this year. Like, normally Nintendo has a single a new game to reveal themselves. Like even when they did a Smash character with Joker back in 2018, they also announced Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 that same year. Yet this year, kind of in line with how their announcement cycle's been going in general, they did not do that. Instead, they seem to kind of mostly hand over the Switch reins to Capcom, who made 3 Switch-specific announcements during the show. One was a new Monster Hunter Rise trailer, which really, in my mind, kind of stretches the definition of a world premiere. But then 2 actual debuts
I guess
occurred.
the world premiere for the trailer, but yeah.
I guess, but like, really?
I know, yeah. I know.
Yeah, no, totally. But and then they made 2 actual real debuts, a throwback reboot of Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, and this ever-growing compilation of old Capcom games called Capcom Arcade Stadium. And it felt to me like a very interesting, very intentional approach to differentiate from all the next-gen stuff at the show. Like, hey, we're not going to have the glitz and glam of like a cowboy with a magic neon glowing arm like Evil West, or, you know, as we were talking about before, like the Callisto Protocol and being part of the PUBG universe. But if you want some nostalgia on your Switch where you already have all this other nostalgia you love, here's Ghosts and Goblins again. Like, wouldn't that be fun on your next commute? Or, like, here's all these other Capcom games that you can now play anywhere. So it was an interesting, like, purposeful feeling, sort of separation from everything else going on in my mind. Did you guys watch the well, Kevin, you were watching the show, but Angel, have you either of you see the Ghosts and Goblins trailer? Have any thoughts on it?
I saw the trailer.
What do you think?
I don't know.
It's definitely Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah, it's like I'm a fan of Ghosts and Goblins. I love the Super Ghosts and Goblins, or was it Super Ghosts and Ghouls? I forget when they changed the name. But it got like a successor, like a sequel on the PSP that was pretty much like literally just Ghosts and Goblins, but with 3D visuals. Yeah. And I don't know. So when this one got announced, I feel like it didn't really do a lot for me. Like it was just kind of like Kevin said, like oh, it's the Ghosts and Goblins. I don't know. I guess there maybe just isn't enough nostalgia for it to be amazing. It's just kind of like, that's cool. Like, I guess something like to check out maybe.
I feel like to me, the art style is what kind of held back. Like, I think execution-wise, I'm more into Arcade Stadium than I am Ghosts and Goblins.
I was actually more interested in that as well.
Right?
That sounded more interesting, yeah. Ghosts and Goblins feels very, like, been there, done that. But
well, not even that, but just, like, watching it, like... I mean, Kevin, did you have any thoughts of it besides, hey, it's Ghosts and Goblins? Anything?
It's Ghosts and Goblins.
I've
always liked the games, but they've never been my cup of tea, honestly.
I suck at them, shockingly, to no one's shock, I mean. But, yeah, I don't know, like, watching it, they're going for a storybook aesthetic, as they call it, Capcom, but I don't know, like...
I mean, it just looks
I think the idea of...
I mean, it looks nice. It looks like a sharper version of the SNES one. But I felt like it's almost kind of like a little downgrade from the PSP one, because that one actually looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because that was like full CG.
And I think the idea is good, because what they're doing is they're doing like a new Super Mario Brothers U almost. So they're rebooting it, but they're taking gameplay elements from both Goblins and Ghouls and Ghosts and Goblins, and then translating them to modern times. But, like, I don't know. That art style, something about it felt a little janky-ish.
Well,
I can't quite put my finger on it.
Well, it's because it looks like it's primarily using like flash animation. Like it's using like a technique that you'd probably see more like on an indie title. So coming from Capcom, it's like it almost gives off like a kind of like cheapness to it. Like, you guys could have done better.
I think that's what it is.
Like it looks like they didn't
nail on the head.
It definitely gives me they didn't put their best foot forward when I see the trailer.
Which is so funny because then, 10 seconds later, like, one more thing, Arcade Stadium, and, like, the production values on that trailer were super good. Like, I really liked everything about that. Like, it's interesting because it's following the format, sort of Namco Bandai's Namcot collection, which, you may remember back in the before the pandemic, we discussed here on the show this kind of clever approach to do retro games in Japan, where basically you download a shell of a compilation, and it comes with one game for free, and then you just buy what you want to add to the collection at a small price per game. And you may recall when Namcot Collection was announced for the States, they switched it to a more traditional collection of preset games at a set price, which I was like, that seems weird. Like, it was kind of baffling me at the time. And Capcom is sort of taking like a halfway step back towards what I thought was a good idea with Namcot Collection. Like, what they're doing is you download the shell of a compilation. It comes out in February, the same month as the Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection reboot, actually. Maybe not a coincidence. And you get a free copy of 1943, The Battle of Midway, when you download the shell. And if you want to buy other games, they're going to release them in packs of 10 or something like that. So 3 different DLC packs. It's 32 titles in all. What's interesting is, perhaps in a detrimental way, actually, is that they're not packaging games by type or anything. They're packaging them by year ranges. So, like, Pack 1 is the dawn of the arcade and covers games from 1984 to 88. So that's like, Bionic Commando, Ghouls and Ghosts, Legendary Wings, all that. Then Pack 2, which is Arcade Revolution, is from 89 to 92. And that features games like Strider and Final Fight and, of course, Street Fighter 2, specifically the World Warrior. Then they do DLC Pack 3, which is Arcade Evolution, and that's when they start doing the multiple Street Fighters. So you have like Hyper Fighter, you have Super Turbo, you have stuff like Pro Gear and 1944, which is the sequel to 41, obviously. So there's, yeah, I know, math, right? Or counting even, not even math. But yeah, it's interesting how they're like, so they're kind of like letting it be a la carte, but it's a la carte in chunks. Like it's the only game you can buy by itself is the original Ghosts and Goblins. Which is, I guess, some sort of weird marketing thing for the new one. I'm not quite sure. But everything else you buy in these like packs of 10, and I don't think they've announced the price or anything. But it is kind of this weird mishmash of approaches where it's like, okay, we're not going to put everything on cartridge and make you buy all of them, but you are going to need to buy like a time range of games at a time. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, it's different. I'll give them that. It's basically like mini compilations. But I guess it boils down to price, huh?
Yeah. It's true.
I think what's kind of cool about it though is like I feel like maybe it's just me, but I feel like there's more of a gaming history lesson to be had here because like Capcom's arcade titles minus the Street Fighters, basically, I don't know, they're not as ubiquitous as Namco's.
I mean,
were,
the reason
like.
We only really ever hear of the other ones. I mean,
exactly. So if they're going to do these kind of like mini bundles, like it is kind of a good way to get more new games to people without necessarily charging them for like a whole compilation of these old games they never heard of. So like marketing wise, it may work better than like a full $40 Namco collection, or not Namco, sorry, Capcom collection or something like that. But it's interesting. I'm curious how it's going to work for them, and if they start doing other games a la carte on top of the 3 packs, or maybe they break them out, or do, because you could really do whatever you want. They could do a Street Fighter combo pack at some point.
I mean, they did already.
No, but they could do it inside this, and they could sell like even smaller chunks or whatever. Like there's a lot of different ways they could, or a 1944 pack, or like a 1940s flying pack, or like there's different ways they could kind of configure these. I'm curious if it's gonna, like, it's kind of like how, when you go to the App Store and you can buy an individual app, or they have like apps by the developer, and like bundles, like you get 3 of these apps or 6 of these apps. Like I'm wondering if this opens the door to Capcom trying those things, and if they find it successful, we could see other, like instead of Sega releasing Sega Ages 1 by 1, M2 developing all those, if they start doing mini bundles of those or things like that. Like could potentially be a good way to save money down the line. Maybe. It's really hard to get a read on it at this point, but it's interesting at least, in my mind. I'll at least check out I'll download the shell and play 1941 probably. I mean, don't you like those, don't you, Angel? The 1940s stuff?
I have both, yeah. So there's no reason for me to even get these.
Fair.
On the Switch.
Any of those games? You have them on the Switch? How do you have them on the Switch? Did they sell them on the Switch individually?
No, I'm thinking of the other collection. Well, not the other collection. I don't even think these were Capcom. I have 2 plain games. One is 1940 something Bombers, and then 1940 something Bombers 2. So maybe
those sound like knockoffs of the Capcom ones.
I don't know. Well, whichever ones they have, they're the ones that I played every year at Anime Expo. So they had some special nostalgia. So
well,
they
now
definitely.
You can get...
So I have no reason to pursue any other playing games because I mean, what made me want to play those in particular was the fact that it was kind of like a tradition to play them in person, like at Anime Expo. And after playing for so many years, like I just started to really like them, and I enjoyed them on their own. But I typically am not the biggest fan of shoot 'em ups. Like there has to be a very specific emotion or something attached to it for me to get really into it. But yeah,
gotcha. So, and I should correct myself. I said 1941. It's 1943. I don't think there is a game called 1941. But maybe I just made up a game. But Kevin, any of those games, any of the old Capcom games ever catch your eye? Were you big on any of them?
No, not really. And I don't see myself picking this up. I can imagine like just buying it, playing one of these arcade games for like no more than 5 minutes and being, all right, next one. And just burning out through it. It's like, not for me.
Yeah, that's kind of why I feel like they should do full a la carte, because then people that just want the one can get the one, but I guess they figure
for $30
this is an easier way. Yeah, or whatever. Yeah.
So that was Capcom Strikers stuff. 1945. That's the game that
that's not. Yep, that's not this. But I mean, Angel, if you did download this, you can get the original 1943 for free, and then just never download anything that costs money. But it sounds like you got your fill already, so maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that was like the Capcom side. That was the most those were the most numerous Switch announcements that were at the show. But of course, there was Nintendo.
Before we go, I was being kind of a jerk and texting Jason whenever a new trailer was shown. I was like, okay, that's definitely not coming to Switch.
Yeah, it's funny because you did that with the Dragon game. You didn't do that with Evil Dead, which I guess works out because that is coming to Switch. But the one that and what was funny is because I kept thinking, okay, there's gonna be a Nintendo game that I could be like, that one's coming to Switch, but Nintendo didn't announce anything except for the Smash Bros. Reveal at the top of the show. Like that's the only thing Nintendo did. And like I was saying, it kind of feels like they're using the Game Awards to sort of whet people's appetite for their own week of news in the days after. Because Game Awards happened, they did their announcement, and then there's like, see you next week, and then every day this past week, Nintendo's announced something, big and small. But the big, really what was driving all this was the announcement of Final Fantasy VII's Sephiroth being a fighter in Smash Bros. Ultimate, which, first of all, like before we even get to that, announcing crossovers at the Game Awards, I always think it's such a clever move, because you have like this audience of fans for every platform tuning in, and going like, hey, here's this guy you associate with now in our game over here, is such an easy marketing move. Like, it's probably why, in the trailer for Sephiroth, they had Banjo-Kazooie there. Because, again, it's just appealing to a broader audience beyond the Nintendo bubble. And I would guess that's why Fortnite chose the Game Awards to announce that Master Chief is now joining Fortnite as a playable character, which I feel like that did not get much attention. I feel like that was that over or underwhelming to anyone else?
It had leaked earlier in the day, that's why.
Oh, okay. Because I feel like it happened and it moved on, and like the online discourse like just pretended it didn't happen, and it was extremely strange. But if it leaked,
because by the time that they had announced it in the show, it was already out. You could have already purchased it.
Oh, that's really weird. Well, even weirder is like, did anyone react when it leaked? I feel like it did not get that much attention. Or did Kratos being there already kind of make it like, oh, okay, it's just another one?
Pretty much.
Yeah. And then to one-up Master Chief with the Walking Dead crew as a one more thing for Fortnite, I was like, that felt backwards. Like, I feel like Master Chief is a much bigger thing than the Walking Dead guys.
Well, they
who
had
have shown up in
point,
like a bunch of games.
I mean, it
kind
of makes sense that they'd be second.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. But anyway, Sephiroth in Smash, that made an impact, and so they debuted him in the Game Awards trailer. A week later, they had a new presentation by Smash director Masahiro Sakurai, where he went into full detail about the character, the corresponding Mii Fighter costumes, the new Sephiroth challenge, which is happening right now. So I guess we should break it all down a bit. First, him joining Smash. we have a Final Fantasy VII fan here. We have a Smash fan here. What do you guys think?
Who wants to start? You want to start? Do I want to start? We got to get better at this. I guess I'll start.
It's the end of the year. We're burned out. It's okay.
Not all at once.
I think
Not all at once, guys.
I think his inclusion. I'm a little mixed on him. One, another sword fighter, whatever. Right. But I think this effectively kills any possibility that Sora will be introduced in Smash.
Would you have preferred Sora?
Not necessarily. I forgot what episode we did it that. Like, sorry, I don't care if he's in Smash or not at this point.
Right. I will say it was funny seeing Sora trend on Twitter all day because everyone was so confident. Because Nintendo announced like that morning that they're going to announce a Smash Fighter in the Game Awards. And Sora was trending and trending and trending and then just fell off a cliff the second that Sephiroth was announced.
Yeah, I kind of wish like...
You wish it was a total surprise?
Yeah. Like, I don't know why they felt the need to say that unless, like, you know, just to help with the Game Award number spectatorship. But, like, I love the fact that when they first announced Joker, like, I didn't even really expect a character announcement. You know, I guess like DLC announcement so soon when the game was going to come out a few hours later. But this, like, the announcement of the announcement, like, yeah, like, it was still exciting and everything, but it definitely killed off some hype that could have been there. I don't know. I was just like, oh, right. Really? I just want to be surprised. And then for it to be like the very first thing too was also kind of like, oh, okay. Like getting the most interesting thing out of the way. All right. For me, but yeah.
And then you tuned out right after that. But speaking of surprises, I mean, Angel, would you have guessed in a million years that he'd be in Smash? Were you genuine? Because I know you like characters that you wouldn't expect. So how did you feel about this?
Yeah, as far as like personal surprise, I thought this was awesome. Like, even though I haven't played Final Fantasy VII, like I've always had like a lot of, I guess I don't know if respect's the right word. I've always really liked the character Sephiroth. I'm a big fan of like villainous characters, and he's just always like stood out to me as like such a like badass villain. I don't know, he's just so evil, and like his sword is just like, yeah, he has a sword, but it's just so long, almost to the point of it just being comical, that even though he's another sword fighter. I mean, in practice, he doesn't really play like any of the other sword fighters. I don't know. Also, just the fact that Sephiroth, like, just kind of negated the fact that he was a sword fighter to me, because everyone was so confident that not only were we not going to get another, like, Final Fantasy, like, rep. I mean, it wasn't even in the discussion. It was like we're going to get all these other people. Yeah. So the fact they double dipped
Sephiroth was never going to happen.
Yeah. So like the fact they double dipped on a franchise that we already thought was like no way in hell like gonna get into the character, and it being like Sephiroth, and then like just having like that music, like One Winged Angel is like such an awesome like track. Like, I mean, I listened to that song to death so many times, and I mean actually a lot of Final Fantasy VII music in particular I listen to a lot regularly. But yeah, like having both of those, like just having his appearance, like I don't know, I thought it was great. It was like the kind of announcement and surprise that I really, really wanted. Like, no one called it. No one saw it coming. It was out of left field. It may not have been what a lot of people wanted, but it kind of felt like it was different from Steve. And because Steve was like, people wanted the character to be in. People were kind of calling out the name, but it was like, oh, they're not going to do it. And I was like, oh man, those madmen, they actually did it. This one was more like, whoa, like, all right, I guess anything can happen. Like, if anything, Sephiroth not being in Smash made me feel like, oh, maybe there's hope that Robotnik will be in there. Which, I mean, the fact that like Final Fantasy got like another rep before like Sega or Sonic did, just made it feel like, damn, like, I don't know, it's kind of sad for Sonic. But I really hope, it gives me hope, because I really also love Eggman, you know, whole villain thing. So,
well, keep in mind, to be fair, Final Fantasy is closer, back in the day, has more history with Nintendo than Sega ever did.
No, yeah. I mean, it's, he just has his presence. I don't know. Like, I mean, by this point, I've already sunk many, many hours playing against Sephiroth, playing as Sephiroth. And
so, what's your assessment?
Really fun.
How is he?
Very unique. He definitely has like his own, because you know, sword fighters are known for really being like kind of aggressive and just like outrange you with, you know, their sword, but they're always like kind of in your face. And Sephiroth is kind of like a weird mix of in between. Like, he can't really get in your face because he's kind of slow. like he has fast mobility, but most of his attacks come out pretty slow, and he's easy to punish that way. But yeah, I don't know. He's like if Ganondorf had like way more mobility, like and an extra wing. I don't know. He's just really cool, and like that explosion, like it just looks so awesome. Like when you charge it up all the way, like
when you charge it up, yeah. I also like the
Giga Burst or whatever it's called.
I forgot what they're called, but I also do like that you can sort of send those homing bomb things that hover around the opponent. Like everything that Sephiroth does feels very like it pays off if you wait. Like if you charge up his sword and then swing it wide, like it takes a second to do it, but it pays off. If you throw those little things, it takes a little bit, but if you get all 5 or whatever around the opponent, it pays off. Like it's very satisfying if you like land everything right. More so than some characters are just like, oh, you hit with the tip and that's it.
Yeah, because all his projectiles, especially that homing. Well, it's not. I guess it's more like a timed bomb. It's a timed explosion.
Yeah, it's like a time bomb. Yeah,
because both of those like they take a long time to come out, so they're pretty easy to dodge if you're expecting them. And after so many games against Sephiroth, like you kind of have to expect them. But the thing about that little explosion, if he charges it up all the way, like it has a big delay to start it up and a delay after the fact. But if you land it, you get this little orb that just like circles around you for what seems like 4 to 5 seconds, sometimes 6 in some cases. And after that, like they just attack you. They fire down at you one at a time, depending on how many were attached to you. And they have the potential to kill you depending on your percentage. They make it really easy for Sephiroth to break your shield, because usually what you would do, like Mega Man has an attack similar to this where a bomb will attach to you and a couple seconds later it will explode. Like most people will run around for a bit, and then when they think it's going to blow up, they'll just start to hold their shield, which means that you'll take the shield damage from the explosion, but then Sephiroth can also throw an attack in there and break your shield, and then he could just charge up that Giga Burst and then throw it at you and then hit you with a smash attack and you're dead. So he really keeps that pressure. I don't know, he's just a really cool character to fight against, and I don't know, like I said, he just has this really nice presence. Seeing him fighting Bowser, seeing him fighting other villains, like it's just really cool. And
I will
that victory screen, Jesus, like it's just so cool.
I that's what I was about to say. I will say, like for me, frankly, Sephiroth did nothing personally. Like I appreciate the significance of it for the fans of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, like I don't even have we have no nostalgia to him, but I still think he's like awesome. Exactly. So I can only imagine what actual fans were like.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's like I can appreciate. I mean, beyond just him, the fact that there's now more than 2 music tracks in Final Fantasy in Smash Bros. Like,
I know,
about
right?
time. But I can, as someone who isn't really like into him, the inclusion of him when they announced it, I was like, whatever, like that's cool, I guess. But I really appreciate how Sakurai is being so true to the character. You know, you mentioned the victory screen, the fiery victory screen, like that's a cool touch. Like, or even the fact that in the reveal trailer, he's one of the only fighters that specifically does not get an invitation to join. He crashes it, because he's that type of bad guy.
Yeah,
like
true.
It just
there was no envelope the whole time.
Yeah. Yep. No envelope the whole time. And likewise, you know, you're talking about fighting other bosses. The fact that they are playing him up as such this big badass boss character, and then the classic mode run is against all these other bosses, and the whole concept of the Sephiroth challenge, which is really cool, is you're fighting a new boss. Like I thought it was very well done. Sakurai very much feels in the zone right now.
Yeah.
Like
the storytelling in the stage is really cool. Like I don't know, everything is just damn. Like you can't help but just appreciate everything. And you know, like kind of the same thing with like Minecraft. Like after watching that reveal trailer, like, you know, it gets you excited about like, wow, the stage like looks so cool, like the music, like everything that they put into it. But yeah, a lot of Advent Children representation and love, even though it's like a movie. But
it's a movie, but it's like a milestone for Final Fantasy and for Square Enix and for gaming, because it is one of the first times that a game company like did something like that directly themselves.
Yeah, like a lot of people are pointing out that like the design for Sephiroth, some of the attacks he does, and I mean, let alone the new version of the Final Smash that Cloud gets whenever you pick the Advent Children costume are all like Advent Children references. It's like you're playing against Advent Children Sephiroth.
Even the short sleeve versus no sleeve thing, which I didn't even know was the thing. When Sakurai's like, oh, in his presentation, he's like, oh, as you guys probably know. I'm like, I definitely did not notice that, but okay. But yeah, it's really Smash Bros. Fan service is next level. It's like an art form that even if you don't understand how it was created, you can appreciate the work that went into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can look at a painting and be like, I mean, he painted whatever, but you can like understand, wow, he like did all those brush strokes, and like it's crazy.
I mean, the trailer also just did enough job of just showing like how evil and powerful he looks.
Totally.
I mean, he had like a great like Mario fake out death, and just the music as well. Like everything was just edited.
I
in a really
can't
great way.
believe. I know they've alluded to Mario being killed before. Like they showed his hat spinning on Ridley's finger and like stuff like that, and they kind of killed Luigi in the past. But I can't believe they allowed an image of what appears to be Mario being impaled through the chest with a giant sword be broadcast out to 80 million people like that. Like that is crazy if you think about it.
Which I saw an image that Kevin edited of that. That was pretty funny.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, the Kevin, you want to describe it?
Well, Sephiroth is Nintendo, and then Mario is Nintendo's fans.
It's perfect, especially with how Nintendo's been acting of late. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But yeah, it was yeah, honestly. I've known you how long. Yep. No, but I'm kidding. But no, it made me laugh. But yeah, I really think Sakurai, like I was starting to say, he really feels like in the zone. Like even in the video presentation, which I'm guessing part is because he's back in the office and he has his crew back there, his little live laugh track, and that's a good ego booster. But no, honestly, like in that video presentation he did last week, I mean, he was on full like Sakurai troll mode. I mean, he was going in that video. He was making fun of his reputation of wanting Smash to be a party game. He was poking fun at spoiler culture when discussing Final Fantasy VII. He straight up trolled by putting Geno in to Ultimate as a Mii fighter costume again and not as a character as people want. Like, he was in top form. Like, I was kind of impressed by how much he was sort of getting away with.
I can't believe we still have 3 characters left. Like,
I know.
I just really hope none of them are on the level of Min Min after the fact. Not that Min Min's a horrible character, but like you have like Steve and Sephiroth, and they're kind of raising the bar in just terms of surprise. Like I just don't want there to be another like Hero, Banjo, Joker, and Fire Emblem.
I don't think there's going to be any more Fire
Emblem. Order makes a big difference. So hopefully they really thought about that.
And I think, honestly, they probably learned from the first one. Because, clearly Sakurai monitors the feedback. He knows all the memes about himself. Like, I still can't get over that he made fun of the, party game, not serious fighting game bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was, but,
because Vilas is like an interesting character, but it just wasn't exciting.
It got buried in yeah, exactly. And I think they have taken note of that. Like, honestly, the thing that surprised me that I'm kind of surprised they didn't think through is this, like, the Mii Fighter selection to me was actually kind of disappointing this update. Like, usually there's one or two out of left field that are really cool and sort of take over.
Yeah, there wasn't one that...
Bomberman, Cuphead, Sans, this time nothing.
I mean, if anything, it kind of followed a downward trajectory because 2 ago, I think was when we got... Which one was it? We had one that had... Actually, I don't think we've had any in this pack that came with music. Because usually you have like one with like a special model.
Music, yeah.
But yeah, usually you have one that like has like a special like model created just for this, even though it's still a Mii fighter, and then it comes with music. Then the last 2, I think we just had just the model. Like we had Bomberman in the last character reveal, but no music, no Bomberman music or anything. And then this one we just don't even get that. We just get a costume we had before from Smash 4.
Yeah, exactly. Which, again, felt like a troll move because everyone's like, oh, Geno. And he's like, hey, we have Square Enix on board. You ready? Here's the costume again. But, yeah, so that was kind of weird. And also I thought the stage...
From Super Mario RPG, the puppet...
Yeah, the puppet guy from Mario RPG. Seven Stones.
Made of wood, blue cape.
Okay,
yeah. Little hat thing. Yeah. But yeah, so I thought that was kind of, like, odd. And also, like, maybe because of how creative and over the top Minecraft Steve's stage was, Northern Cave as a stage
doesn't have anything going
wasn't
for
the
it.
most creative thing. Exactly.
Like,
it's a
it's
a tournament ready, simple stage. Yeah.
Yeah, and usually
exactly.
like
the background's crazy.
I was shocked at like the platforms that there aren't like platforms that just come in and out, kind of like Bayonetta stage or something. But I mean, it's pretty much the Hazards Off version of the Kahlo stage, which is literally the exact same format except there are no walls. But that one, when Hazards are off, like the platforms change, everything. Sometimes you get like a water version with like a a sluice coming in with water pushing from the side, or you get giant sword in the middle. This one just stays the same the whole time, except for the background. Which,
this one felt very like
it's pretty much how I'm
ready.
gonna play it the whole time. But we usually play with hazards off anyway, so that is how it would have looked anyway. But every once in a while, I do like to play with hazards on and like see everything that the game has to offer. So it was kind of disappointing, but they also did put more work into the background than they did for any other stage, besides like probably like Final Destination. So resources wise, I could see why they were maybe exhausted. But
well, I think honestly it went the other way around. I think they couldn't necessarily come up with a stage gimmick that made sense, so they put effort into the background to make up for it. Like, they didn't have to do a loose interpretation of the climax of Final Fantasy VII playing out in real time as you fight, but if they don't have anything to do in the foreground, they might as well. Like, I seriously doubt that Sakurai is like, what if we put the entire climax of a game in the background?
I'm just Sakurai. Yeah, just look at what they did for the Cloud one. I mean, it's true. Actually, even the layout on that one is literally just Battlefield. The only reason it's even special is because you have the summons that disrupt with the field and the battle as you play. But
right,
yeah. But at least I had that going. I mean, when you turn hazards off, it's just Battlefield. But yeah,
yeah. It's kind of odd, but I mean, for tournament play, it's great. I'm sure.
Yeah,
just
but that didn't matter one way or the other. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, these nitpicks aside, though, I did very much enjoy Sakurai being back in his element, like being in his office, doing the presentation, being all like jokey, putting out some real good fan service. Like really I feel like
turnaround. I mean, it was like 2 months ago that we had Steve.
Yeah,
I mean, it kind of felt like we just got him. But
well, they used to do them every 2 or 3 months, and then there's a long gap because of COVID. Like we had, the June update, and then nothing until Steve. When it used to be like every 2 or 3 months we'd have one, so they're kind of like backlogged almost. But I imagine the next one will probably be in like February or March. I think that's how they did it last year. But what I was trying to say is to go on a really quick spoiler-free tangent. I really enjoyed this week having Nintendo personalities like being in their element. So we had Sakurai in his presentation, and then we had Shigeru Miyamoto walk around and explain Super Nintendo World in a last-minute surprise announced Super Nintendo World Direct presentation. And it was just so like... I hate to use this term because I know the internet like uses it and it seems so like it was wholesome. I don't know how better to describe it. And don't worry, Andrew, I'm not going to say anything about the park specifically. I know you don't want spoilers, and I understand that walking through the park the first time, I robbed myself of some of that experience by watching this. But like that big smile on Miyamoto's face, hearing him refer to himself as Mario's dad, and like interacting with the costume characters at one point, like you could see the pride and joy of his Mario vision fully realized in real life, him walking through it. It was just really fun to watch, even though it literally amounted to a walking tour of a segment of the park. But again, without saying anything, it just like, God, that park looks so cool. Like the way they flip traditional concepts into some interactive Mario style ones is super cool. I last episode, you guys might remember, I was like, oh, maybe the park's smaller, maybe we're getting overhyped. It looks really, really cool. So for those who haven't seen it but want to check it out, we'll link to it in the blog post. It does show a decent amount of the park, so much so that I really came very close to stopping the video and not watching it further. But then Miyamoto's joy was just like too hard to resist, so I kept going. But yeah, I just wanted to say like if you enjoyed Sakurai being his usual self, like this is the Miyamoto equivalent, and it was so fun to watch. But anyway, back to Sephiroth. Angel, how long did it take you to beat the challenge? How long did it take you to beat the Sephiroth challenge?
A couple seconds. I was kind of disappointed with it. I mean, even on the very hardest difficulty, it definitely seemed like it was tweaked to still be like very hard. I would call it like easy, and then medium I would call it like super easy, and easy I would call it like automatic pass. And based on like and based on what I've heard around just like people that I've talked to and other videos that I've seen of people unlocking it, it seems pretty unanimous that like very hard was still pretty easy. Like at least anyone that has like played Smash Bros before can just beat it, and anyone that has never played the game before would just like kind of struggle, but still beat it.
So, it took me 3 hours.
What?
It took me 3 hours, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not a good gauge for it, so it doesn't really.
No, but the reason it took me 3 hours in part was I initially was playing with my Joy-Cons because I was playing in handheld mode. And as I've mentioned maybe on the show before, I do now suffer from Joy-Con drift. Sounds like I have a condition, but I do now suffer from Joy-Con drift. So I was figuring that might be why, so I switched about an hour in. And then I was using the Pro Controller, and at first I came very close to beating him, like, oh, it was the controller. And then I just kept losing, and it kept getting worse and worse, and finally, it was actually 2 hours and 45 minutes. But yeah, it took me a long time. But it was very... I beat it, and it was very gratifying to beat it.
You also rarely play too, so I feel like... All right,
yeah.
So that kind of makes sense.
But I think the challenge
and also,
is one of the...
Most of the people... And anyone that I would follow... Yeah, I don't know. It's just hard to gauge for us because we're definitely at a different level.
Dude, no, I'm not good at Smash. I'm not taking it personally. I just love the backpedal you're now doing. It's really funny. No, I know I'm not great at Smash, and I was playing with a broken controller half the time. And first of all, two things.
So
one,
definitely, I mean, it's puts into perspective. I don't think I realized how big of a difference that actually makes.
One, yeah, and not only that, but the Pro Controller is awesome. Now that I finally own one, I can't believe I went this long without it. It just feels so good. It has a cool translucent look. It kind of reminds me of old tech. It has really nice sticks. It's so nice. It's so nice.
Need one.
I didn't need one until my controller broke, but it's once I have it, I can't go back. But I didn't need it.
Literally what we told you.
Anyway, that's right. But you said once you have it, you can't go back. Not that I needed it. Anyway, now I need it to survive. And to not spend 3 hours being Sephiroth. But the other thing I want to say is I really enjoyed, as frustrating as hour 2 was of my attempt.
I am very happy that you at least stuck with going for it in very hard, though.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing I should clarify. It was very hard I played. Everyone at home, I'm not that bad that on easy I lost. It was very hard I was doing. And to be honest, the way they do the difficulties, the way they scale them is a little cheap. All they're doing is upping his starting health versus yours and nerfing your attacks more and more, basically. So it's kind of an artificial difficulty thing.
Yeah,
he's playing the same way. They're just changing the number ratio, essentially.
Yeah, which is kind of why, for us to have played the game for many years at this point, if he can't land a hit on us, it really doesn't make a difference on the difficulty. It just makes it
right.
It just makes it take a little longer.
Or 3 hours. But what I was gonna say is I do really, really like what they're doing with the challenge.
So how did you actually stuck with it? That's amazing. But I guess after because 2 hour mark, you must have been like, nope, I'm not leaving here until I actually beat it.
Here's the thing. So what I really like about it and why I stuck with it is I think it's Sakurai basically said this in the presentation. When a new DLC fighter comes out, they make a brief splash and that's it, and then they're just on your character select screen and that's it. But turning it into an actual event, even if it's just for a few days, but doing a thing where you're building excitement around it, and it's this monumental thing, and as soon as you complete it, you get a little share this online button, and you can compare with your friends and see the times and everything. Obviously, it's not a real leaderboard. Obviously, it doesn't tell you how many attempts, but just having that kind of communal, we have to earn him. Or you wait till the 22nd, but by then everyone's had him for 5 days. You can't do that. You don't want to be left behind, FOMO and all. So the event around it and turning it into more than just you paid for it and here it is. I thought that was really cool. And they did it in a way that, one, plays up a single player aspect of the game, and single player is traditionally the weakest part of Smash. 2, doesn't have to deal with online, so you don't have to worry about lag or anything. And 3, still, even though it's not online, though it is solo, has those communal things I was just talking about. To me, that was the perfect combo to make it really rewarding to actually do this, because I didn't have to worry about going somewhere and risking COVID, in a local event. I have to worry about online lag. I didn't have to, my pride wasn't really on the line if it took me 3 hours until I had to admit it on a recording. It was just when I do it, I can share, look, I did it. It was
I don't know why,
it's a cool thing. It was very motivational.
I don't know why, but I think when you told me through text or with my phone that you beat it, I felt like you almost implied that it was either you beat it right away. Maybe that's just the way that I read it. There was just oh yeah, I already unlocked them. It's oh wow, yeah, no trouble for Jason. He good.
It was
little
trouble.
Did I know.
But no, it was. But yeah, little did you know. But no, honestly, I want them to do something like this with all the new characters going forward. It can even be the exact same
I would even like
idea.
it if they did with some existing ones, literally do one for Bowser or any boss characters.
I think there needs to be a reward at the end, though. There needs to be something because what
they
works so well about this is
or something. I don't know. I mean,
Maybe, but yeah,
I mean,
what
at this point, there isn't
best
really
about-
much they can do at this point.
Yeah,
Besides,
that's the
like,
thing.
I mean,
Except for new characters.
I mean, the reward for Sephiroth was the fact you get to play with him a week early.
Exactly, and I thought that was really clever. So, and like that combined with the braggadociousness they were trying to encourage online, like they made a hashtag for it. There's a share button access right in the game. Like all that was like, it was like the perfect little thing. But yeah, so if they do that with new DLC fires in different ways, I think that'd be cool. And also, of course, you gotta acknowledge, like, they built a custom UI for this. It was all Final Fantasy themed. They had it, like, you know, minor things to do, but it really did feel like it was something special and unique in the same way that, like, you know, Super Mario Brothers 35, like we were talking about it being an event versus a game, and that idea, like, this was kind of like an in-game version of something like that, like building a whole thing just to do a thing, for lack of a better term. But I really liked it, and I really hope that they do more like this with Smash, because it adds a new element to the game and makes it feel fresh, even though we're 2 years in at this point. And it's not just, here's a DLC character, on to the next one. It's like a little celebration at that point. So, it also, the other nice thing is it rewards folks like us who blindly bought the Fighter Pass. There are so many people who are like, yep, I bought the Fighter Pass, we'll see what happens, and then you get it and you like it if it's Sephiroth or someone, and you don't like it if it's Byleth or someone. But this was really like, hey, thanks for supporting it early on. Here's a thing you can do and get early access. And to be fair, when they announced it, you could also go buy the Sephiroth DLC today and play it till the 22nd when it ends, or 21st when it ends. But, like, having it basically instantly there for everyone that already kind of bought in, I thought was kind of a nice little, like a nod to us that are supporting it blindly. To be like, hey, yeah, you know what? There's some perks. Buying it up front, there are some perks. So that was cool, I thought. And I'm more than happy to have spent those 3 hours because, again, I think hopefully the data goes back to Nintendo and they see the playtime of different people and they're like, yeah, we should do more like this. And I'm all for it. So that was Sephiroth. Unless you had any other thoughts about him, Angel.
Gonna be sad when
or Kevin
this game
from
is
a
no longer
concept.
when this game is no longer supported. Because I mean, it has to happen at some point.
Right?
Like this game has to end, and obviously at this point, like there's no way they can even attempt to do something like this in this next Smash. Like it's gonna have to be changed up enough, and yeah, it'll probably have like a much smaller roster, but we'll have to see. I'm gonna try not to think about that for now.
I mean, there's still, you know, well into 2021 before we even have to worry about that. We have at least 6 to 8 months more content. Yeah. And who knows? They might do some other stuff along the way. Like, maybe they won't do more fires. Maybe they'll do, like, in-game events or new modes like Sephiroth Challenge.
I mean, they started doing...
to your point about doing it with...
I mean, they started doing in-game tournaments, so that's actually kind of cool. Like, actual Nintendo-hosted ones, so... Yeah, that's interesting.
How is that?
Goes. Well, I wish I know, but every time there is one...
right.
It's literally right when we start recording the podcast, so I've yet to be able to enter one due to scheduling issues. But
well, we'll have to rectify that.
But you know, there's other tournaments. Like actually, since our last round of Nintendo, I got to participate in an actual tournament, and I think did I mention that in Quarantine Chronicles? Maybe I did.
No, I don't think so.
Oh well, yeah. Last week, I think I was on the 12. I think I mentioned that I've been like on a Discord with a bunch of people, like whether they're from work or other places, just people that love to play Smash. And so far, this Discord has been like probably the most fun I've had playing Smash with other people, like other like people that aren't like my close friends, because you know that's a much different experience. This is like a communal Smash club, and of these types, like of other Discords I've been to, like this is definitely the most chill and most friendly, which just makes you, it's just really fun. It's really nice, but they're also like very competitive. Like they do care about like trying to get better. They look at the frame data, like everything that you want in a small community that tries to like help each other and build each other up. And I came in right when they started doing the remnants for like their next big tournament, and it ended up being a 16-person tournament, and yeah, it was really tough. They actually streamed it. Some of my like friends and family were able to watch some of it, and I even got to fight against the previous champion in winners finals, and I was able to beat them and then go to grand finals. And literally after the first grand finals match against a Sonic that was also like a really, really good Sonic, I won, and then I lost power. So I think for like almost 20 minutes I had no power, no way to communicate with them, and it was like a whole block thing. So
they didn't disqualify you?
No, because everyone, like, by that point, they already kind of knew me, so it's not like they were just gonna throw the towel in right away. It wasn't like a complete stranger kind of thing. And also, since I knew my brother-in-laws were watching, I actually told them like, "Hey, you guys were already commenting on the stream because it's also really nice and it feels cool when like you're playing a game and you see like I'll always like mute the stream whenever I'm playing and then I'll like unmute it right when the game is over, and I'll hear things like, "Oh man, a lot of love for Wairo and this Bowser," because they're like cheering me on in the thing." So since I saw that they were cheering me on or like just like writing, I told them, "Hey, put in the chat that my power went out." So they were aware of the situation and they just started playing some friendly games on stream while I tried to get it sorted out. At least hoping that it was something that would resolve itself soon, because it was a power outage that it wasn't like a simple turn the breaker on and off. It was like out of our hands. And luckily the power did come back and we were to resume the games and ended up taking first place. And yeah, it's pretty cool. The winnings from the tournament actually helped buy a lot of Christmas presents, so that was great. Actually, one of my favorite parts about the stream also, I mean, unintentionally, was that during that first game against the Sonic, the stream actually cut out, like, you see, like, Sonic and Bowser, like, running at each other, and then the stream cuts, like, technical difficulties. And then as soon as the stream cuts back, Sonic is, like, paralyzed because his shield broke, and you just see me charging a forward smash and just, like, kill Sonic. So just, I don't know. For anyone that was just following, it's like, whoa, what happened? Like, usually Sonic should get his shield broken, like, a speedy guy like that getting caught by a down B. But
right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while since I've had a feeling like that. Like I love entering tournaments. I don't care if I'm stuck in a place for like 8+ hours. This wasn't that long by any means. It was maybe 4 hours. But yeah, I really miss that. That's definitely something that I've definitely I was starting to forget about in this post-COVID world, because I used to try to enter some kind of live event once in a blue moon. At the very least, the one at Comic-Con. And yeah, at a skill level, like this one was at a much higher level, because usually the Comic-Con one is a lot easier. This one was pretty tough, but it was awesome. But yeah, I mean, speaking of, I guess, tournaments, might as well mention a topic that I wanted to talk about last week. I remember Jason asked me like, "Hey, didn't you want to talk about esports?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna say it."
And they're like, "No," and I'm like, "Okay." But yeah, just do it now. Yeah.
I mean, essentially, like, after playing in this Discord for a while, like, I just wanted to, like, and just playing Splatoon with, like, the gang. Now, at one point, what did they even call themselves? I remember.
Aggressively average?
No, before that, our original name was, like, Splashers or something. But anyway, yeah, just, like, from playing with, like, them for a while and entering all these, like, Nintendo sanctioned tournaments that they would host, like, I decided to just kind of take a peek into, like, how organized these events were, like, on the Nintendo side, just because, like, Splatoon and ARMS, like, were pretty much designed for the ground up to be, like, these competitive games. And, as Sakurai, like, jokingly mentioned that, like, oh yeah, let's not talk about frame data, let's leave that to the competitive side. We're a party game. Like, I just wanted to see, like, how much did they actually put into this. And, like, kind of beginning with Splatoon, like, I don't know, it seems like they did a pretty decent job. It seemed like Nintendo did, like, the bare minimum needed in order for it to, like, support it. Like, it did have some tournaments here in the US that were pretty big. They were mainly tied to E3 and other big events, but they did have them, and it's definitely more than they can say for, like, Smash Brothers. But as far as, like, the game itself, though, like, there was something that was Splatoon that I didn't really realize. Like, apparently, like, most shooters, I thought aim assist was something that was, like, something you have to toggle on and was just, like, not a thing in online competitive games, especially shooters. But apparently that is the case. I guess aim assist exists in every shooting game, I guess, since Halo. I guess that's where it started. But Splatoon is apparently, like, the only, like, multiplayer shooter that doesn't use any kind of aim assist, because it uses the motion control. And I guess because of that, it ends up just being, like, way more precise. And pretty much, like, all these design elements just, like, complement each other so well. And it, I just come to really appreciate Splatoon. I guess it's a very solid game. Even modes like Clan Blitz, I know, like, Jason and I and, like, the other friends that we play with, like, kind of hated this mode in the beginning. We were just like, oh, like, why do we have to play this? Why is it there? whenever it's on rotation, and it's starting to become one of my favorite modes. I don't know. I think it's just from playing it so much, we started learning the nuances of it. But I don't know. Like, you just really start to appreciate the pull and pull, like the meta around collecting clams, the meta around taking your football, knowing the best route to get there, like passing clams to other people. I don't know, protecting your base is just great. But
it has a lot going on. Like, it's the other modes are very much like, okay, you go paint this area, or okay, you go, take care of this small territory that moves, or this small object that moves. But this one, like, it's like football combined with what you normally do, combined with collecting. It's a lot at once. It's like 3 different activities at once.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And what I guess, like, the more I looked into, I guess, like, how they're leveraging that into their competitive scene, it definitely became super apparent, which should have been obvious from the beginning, that like they really do push it way more in Japan than they do here. If anything, I don't know if it's a
Splatoon or Clan Blitz.
Splatoon 2 in general.
Oh, okay.
Like the competitive scene. Like, I don't know if it's a decision from Nintendo of America to not push it as hard or something else, but like, to give you an idea, like early on to Splatoon 2's life, or maybe I think it was Splatoon 1, they had a Nintendo tournament that had $1 million prize pool. Like, we've never had anything like that, like remotely close, like by Nintendo, which is crazy. And like, to kind of like add to that, like just going into ARMS, like, I don't know if it was just like the way it was marketed, but like from the very beginning, it kind of seemed like it seemed more of a party game at first than it was a competitive game. We didn't, like, I don't think anyone really knew it even had competitive potential until that. Was it an E3? It was like an invitational where the director of the game had to literally come out and go like, all right, guys, this is how you play competitive ARMS. And everyone for a moment was like, whoa, that's really cool. Like, I guess this game is pretty deep. And,
yeah, that was at E3.
And then kind of nothing. But, I mean, the game came out, like, we were kind of sort of like getting used to it. But there were like other things like from the get-go that kind of held it back. Like, the game ARMS, unfortunately, had a pretty bad way to unlock everything. Like, by default, every ARMS character had 3 arms they could mix and match with, and essentially making them, that further differentiates the characters. But as you play the game normally and you do a mini game about things, you could essentially unlock every single arm for every single character and mix and match them every way you want, making, like, super personal, specific to you, and find the best match, and the best combination, and it makes it way deeper than it normally would. But the process to unlock them all, and because they're unlocked randomly, it's just not great. And because of that, it really held back a lot of tournaments. Because on one hand, you have people saying, kind of like Smash Brothers, like, like, oh, like, no items, this is play it like as simple as possible to make it competitive. The equivalent of that in ARMS is like, all right, just play with the pre-assigned arms, which makes some characters that could potentially be really good, like Helix, with his really interesting like mobility options, because he can't really jump, he like stretches all over. Someone like him has really slow and clunky arms by default, so right out the gate, like, he is not really a viable choice, and that kind of goes for like other characters as well. But if you make it like only unlocked arms are available, then you have to hope that everybody unlocks all the arms, and sometimes that just takes way too long. It's really hard to like start up a scene when you're already that behind. Like, usually there's like a tournament mode where it just has like everything unlocked, and we didn't get that until like a month or 2 after the final character was like available, Dr. Coyle, and I believe that was a little over a year. So can you imagine, so if anyone wanted to get into the game, like, there's already the high bar, just learning the mechanics of the game, but then it's like, oh, this great combination that looks cool that I want to try out, I actually have to unlock through this random like gotcha kind of system. And yeah, it's not really ideal. But in Japan, they apparently had this tournament mode from the very beginning. They apparently also had like all these like officially sanctioned like Nintendo tournaments that they would keep hosting, where the director of the game was actually commentating. Like, so they've pretty much had like all this practice, and it was pretty much like set up to be like a great tournament game from the very beginning. And over here, I feel like we only got like one event, like one invitational, and then that was it. Like every time we saw like, oh, Smash Invitational, Splatoon Invitational, and that's it. Like there was, it's like they just dropped the game really fast. And and unfortunately, like the more I learned about it, like the more interesting the game looked, and I'm like, damn, like I kind of wish all these options were more streamlined and available from the very beginning, and maybe I could have given it a bigger chance. But yeah, it was just kind of tough. And even like competitively, like what also didn't help is that, at least for the US, is that because like Japan was already kind of set to succeed with like having all these resources and tournaments and tournament mode, and you know the director pretty much being there guiding them throughout the way. Like by the time we hit Evo Japan, and you have like players of ARMS from here going over there, like there was no surprise that Japan ended up taking that. Like there was no way we could have done it. But I don't know. So it definitely seems like Nintendo can do it when they want to, but I don't know. I guess business management is just very different over here than it is over there. I don't know. It just seems like
it's weird.
A lot of opportunities. I don't know. Maybe but
no, I was gonna say it's weird because it feels like a chicken and the egg problem. Because I was originally, when you're like, I don't know why we don't do it in America, I was about to say, well, Splatoon doesn't sell in America by comparison. Like I had the MPD numbers in front of me here for November, and it's like a who's who of evergreen titles. I mean, you have like in the top 20.
His
no. Well, sort of. No,
back. It's back.
It's back. I snuck it in. No, but to Angel's point, honestly, like 8 of the 20 games in the top 20 are Nintendo games. There's Hyrule Warriors that debuted at number 6, whatever. That's not relevant to this. Animal Crossing at number 8. And that's just a tidal wave of evergreens. Mario Kart at number 11. Mario U Deluxe at number 14. Luigi's Mansion 3 at number 15. Smash Ultimate at 17. In the mix there, you also have 3D All-Stars at 12 and Mario Kart Live at 16. But my point is, why is it that U Deluxe is still selling, Luigi's Mansion 3 is still selling, Smash is still selling, but Nintendo Splatoon isn't? And I'm thinking about it, and I don't know if you guys have looked at Nintendo's YouTube channel lately, but they have a Switch My Way commercial, where they have different people that are like, this is how I play Switch, for like every evergreen. They have one for Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's a kid showing off his Pokemon. They have 2 sisters bonding over Mario U Deluxe. They have a tween girl hanging out with her squad in Animal Crossing. They have a father and son bonding over Fortnite. They have kids dancing to Just Dance. They have a mom and kid racing in Mario Kart. In Japan, they have ones for Splatoon, and they have ones, weirdly enough, for Pokemon Let's Go, which they're now promoting as a great, like, kids' first Pokemon game. But in America, no marketing for Splatoon 2. No new ads for Splatoon 2. It wasn't necessarily part of the wave of price drops we saw in November that led to so many of these evergreens doing well. Like, Nintendo dropped the price on a lot of them. I got Mario U Deluxe for the Switch for like under $30 during Black Friday week. Why did I do that? Because now I can play co-op more easily. But nonetheless, it's under $30. Splatoon 2 maybe was down to $40, but it didn't have an ad campaign to go with it. It didn't, it wasn't part of Switch My Way commercials. So initially I was going to tell you, well, it's because it didn't sell. But looking at the data here, Nintendo's not promoting it for some reason. And ARMS is, of course, even more far gone. So I don't know
if the marketing isn't
why
there,
they decided. It's weird.
And definitely, like, I mean, I think we were getting like a manga series for Splatoon. I don't know if we ever got it here, but I know there's one in Japan.
I think I don't know if it came out, but it was supposed to come out. Yeah.
And maybe this is just in general for ARMS, but I know like at some point, like they were supposed to come out with a comic book with Dark Horse Comics that's supposed to go into the lore of the ARMS world in 2018. It's been 2 years. We haven't heard anything about it. Card just doesn't exist anymore.
Bizarre.
Like I mean, Splatoon 2 is definitely the golden child. Like, it's one that, at the very least, like, they're still putting in an effort here in the U.S., but, I mean, I thought, like, after Min Min and Smash, like, ARMS was going to get a bigger resurgence outside of, here's, like, the demo again, but then it just kind of got quiet. Like, at the very least, a sequel. I mean, I hope if there's a sequel, they kind of push it everywhere and just try to market it, because I feel like, I mean, marketing is everything, and the way it was presented initially, I think, gave everyone, at least here, like, the wrong impression of the game. And it might have been too late by the time that it was properly shown off at that invitational. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like I think even Splatoon, I mean, part of the reason they're pushing Splatoon harder, giving it more of a chance as a golden child, is because Splatoon has sold like 10 million copies on Switch and ARMS has sold like 3. So right away, if you have to pick one of
just 3, not even million. Just 3.
3 million. They've sold 3. To you, to me, and to one guy we don't know because I don't think Kevin owns it. Am I right, Kevin? Do you not own ARMS?
Correct.
See? But no, it's so I understand why if they had to pick one or the other. But like they're doing co-brand promotions for like Just Dance and Fortnite, like they're promoting old games. I feel like they could just give ARMS.
Yeah, that is very
a little
telling.
push.
Like I didn't even realize that about the whole like Switch My Way.
Oh yeah, no, it's everywhere. And like the fact that, and obviously like Mario is a much bigger franchise. Just Dance had its best debut year in like 8 years or something this year because people want to be more active. Fortnite obviously is its own thing that's huge, so of course they're gonna hop on that bandwagon. They even did a console bundle, but like it's just weird to see them keep circling around the same few. And then in Japan they're doing more interesting things, like I was saying with like Let's Go and Splatoon. But it's odd that in the States they keep circling the same few games, and it's definitely. Part of it is, I mean, Nintendo knows what they're doing to make money. Like their stock is at the highest it's been since the peak of the Wii and DS in 2007. They're bringing money hand over fist. Like the Switch has been the number one selling console for 2 straight years as of November. It sold something like 1.35 million in November, which is higher than PlayStation, which is higher than Xbox. All 3 are supply constraints. It's not really a fair comparison to say that, but nonetheless, it was the top console even when its competitors launched. Like that's still like a bullet point they could put in their press release. But still, they're just not caring about Splatoon. So at some point, they decided it wasn't worth doubling down on. And ARMS certainly wasn't worth it. And maybe doing the new demo in June with Min Min was kind of testing the water to see if there's potential there. But clearly, they decided there wasn't because they had 6 months to roll out ARMS and Splatoon as part of this marketing campaign. So, I don't know. I think for better or worse, the ship kind of sailed. And it's weird because this would have been an excellent time to do this. Gaming is having a crazy moment right now because everyone's stuck at home. Like I saw some number from I think it was the NPD group that said like 79% of Americans gamed in the last like quarter, and like the sales in gaming in November are up 35% year over year. There's 80 million people watching Game Awards like we talked about earlier. Like right now the industry's firing on all cylinders. If Nintendo wanted to reintroduce something and actually put some effort behind it, this feels like the time to do it. And yet they're not. So it's, to your point, it's very bizarre. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's weird. I also should note one other kind of oddity. The Switch actually sold less this November than last November by about a couple hundred. By like I think it's 1.35 million versus 1.43 or something. Again, it's due to supply issues. Like you had a crazy October, near record for the industry, best selling October for Switch thus far. So to go from like 135% drop spike to a 5% year over year drop in November, like that's a supply issue, not a demand issue. But again, if the demand, if there's that many people interested in the Switch, Nintendo, even if you can't sell Switches, get the people that bought them in October to check out Splatoon. Or check out ARMS. Like, it's super weird. So, I don't know. But hopefully they, like, listen to this and take some learnings.
We can only hope so.
Was there anything else you want to talk about? Was there anything else?
I mean, there's no way a Splatoon 3 isn't coming at some point, even if it's not for the Switch.
Oh, it's for sure happening. 10 million is nothing to scoff at. And that's something to be really clear about. Even 3 million for ARMS is nothing to scoff at. Those are sequel-worthy numbers. The question is whether if they do it, if they support it in the way you're wanting.
They said Splatoons were done. They've been far from done.
Exactly. So it's just a matter of if they want to go that extra step in January.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Mario. It's just a matter of if they want to go that extra step, really. So we shall see.
It's always up in the air. But yeah.
Yeah, but then again, they're always full of surprises. I mean, like, I was saying earlier how, like, the Game Awards, like, I thought they'd announce something, they didn't, but then all of this past week, they've been announcing things. I mean, Bravely Default just got a new demo, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but considering we don't know when it's coming out, I don't think. Like, that suggests it's coming very soon. There's new Switch Online games for NES and Super Nintendo, including Donkey Kong Country 3. There's the Super Nintendo Direct, obviously Sephiroth, and then we had the Indie World Showcase, which was kind of a random thing that just happened. So, like, Nintendo's still doing stuff. It just seems like their priorities are elsewhere at the moment. Which does, I guess, bring us to the Indie World Showcase. It had 17 games in it. I'm a little confused why they didn't they had a commercial during the Game Awards thanking their indie community for supporting the Switch. And you would think at the end of the commercial, you'd be like, check back on Tuesday for exciting new announcements. Nope. They just tweeted out a few days later. But anyway, 17 games were shown. 12 got prominent roles. The others were in a sizzle reel. Did anything catch your guys' eye? If so, what? Since apparently we're bad at saying who talks first. Kevin, how about you? What caught your eye?
Spelunky, baby. I love Spelunky so much. 1 and 2, yeah. Spelunky is probably one of my favorite games of all time. I played the crap out of that game on my Vita.
Cross-compatible?
Like cross-save? Or what do you mean?
Cross gameplay, cross online. I already forgot.
I don't think they're going to have.
Why am I
I don't think they're going to have cross
maybe?
gameplay.
Crossplay. That's not, pretty much get someone on the PC, play with someone on the Switch.
I'm not too sure. I believe there's crossplay PC to PS4 or PS5, but I'm not too sure about. Yeah, for the sequel.
Yeah,
but I'm not
the
too
original's
sure
from like 2012, so there's no way that has crossplay. Yeah.
Spelunky is.
So what is it about Spelunky?
It's a roguelike platformer.
Is that word again?
Where, yeah, exactly. Unlike Hades, this one is each run is
good.
is
just kidding.
Permadeath. No, it's permadeath. There's no progression, so to speak. You only progress as a better player the more that you go in. But man, the first game is just loaded and loaded with secrets. You are a spelunker going into a cave system, and it kind of works the classic structure of you go through 4 levels, and that consists of a world, and then you'll go to level 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, that kind of thing. But there's like different approaches to get to the end game, I guess. There's various worlds. There's various secret worlds that you can go through. There's a lot of secret weapons that you can get. There's a quote-unquote black market where you have to get like 3 specific items to be able to unlock that. The first game just is, the first game is definitely one of my favorite games of all time. Probably like my top 5, and it's the reason that your brothers decided to play the sequel. The sequel didn't grab me as much. The sequel came out, I believe it was maybe about 2 months ago. And that game is also great, but that one I couldn't play.
Just too similar that.
No, I think it was literally just because like I couldn't play it while I was in bed. And now that it's going to be released on Switch, I think that, I'm going to lose so much time. just like I am with Hades. Hades finally got the cross save patch, so my Switch is going to be my roguelike destination from now on.
Spelunky was one of the very first roguelikes, wasn't it? Like the original?
The original on like. Wait, what?
What was that, Angel?
No, I said that sounds right.
Oh yeah, because it's from like it started as, if I remember correctly, it started as like a freeware game in like 2000. I don't know, 7, 8, 9, somewhere.
Yeah,
in there.
Exactly. And then Mossmouth, I believe, the developers, I believe, took that game and then, just did reworked art, reworked music, that kind of stuff, and put it onto consoles and PC. And yeah, I cannot be more excited for Spelunky.
It's weird it's taking till next summer to come out. Like, I understand the sequel maybe, but the first one takes till next summer, a game from 2012, but okay. Yeah. I don't know their dev cycle, I shouldn't judge, but just it seemed very far away.
Yeah, but at least it's here. I'm happy
right.
that it's going to be here. I'm so
and it
stoked
opened
for this.
the presentation, and it was a pretty strong open, because that's a big name in the indie world.
Yep.
Yeah. Were there any other games that caught your eye?
Nothing on the likes of Spelunky for sure.
That's fair. Because I was gonna say, I feel like in the same way that Spelunky was the strong open, Among Us was a strong closer, and that was interesting to see come to Switch. Again, it feels like the Game Awards were like whetting an appetite for something that was later. And I was like, the Game Awards, they showed off the new map for Among Us, which is the airship, and then wait 4 days, and then the Among Us team's like, oh, by the way, the entire game's on Switch right now, and unintentionally due to a bug, you can actually play the air map now in the Switch version. But I don't know. I think it's interesting because it's a free to play game, but on Switch it's $5. which doesn't seem unreasonable. I think that's what the premium version is if you want it on.
Yeah, that's how much
systems.
it's on Steam as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but it just feels like, because I played it a little on my phone, actually against some of you guys, or both of you guys, and it just seems like the Switch version's the way to go if you want. Because like the thing I don't like about it personally is the touch controls for the joystick and stuff. So if you play it in handheld mode on your Switch, you have the touch controls for all the little puzzles you have to solve, or the little tasks you have to do, and then you have the joystick, the Joy-Con stick to actually move, and it just seems like the best of both worlds. So that seems like it's gonna be kind of cool. I don't know if I actually pick it up because I don't play that much Among Us, but I think for people who are into it, it's like the definitive way to play it. And of course for Nintendo, it's a huge get.
If you're someone that's like regularly hosting Among Us games, it's definitely worth buying. But if you're someone like Jason that will only play occasionally when the whole group gets together and someone else is usually hosting, you're better off just sticking with the free version, I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially because, which means you'll automatically be playing with touch control. So while it does kind of suck to move around, which is why the C-Stick is better, at least completing the tasks will be better. But for free, it's fine.
I am curious. I mean, it was a shadow drop, so it came out then and there as a surprise. I am curious how the tasks work in the TV mode of the Switch. Like, I haven't actually looked into it, but I wonder if they've mapped in the buttons or anything.
In-game cursor.
Or a cursor. That's probably it, honestly.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that, but
it's
a big get for Nintendo.
That could kind of help, but yeah.
Well, that might not be as bad if it has motion. Yeah, but what I was gonna say is it's a big get for Nintendo because like Among Us, besides just taking a bunch of awards at the Game Awards, is like such a big pop culture thing at the moment, and to get it on Switch first, even though Xbox we're gonna have it on Game Pass soon, they snuck in and said, yeah, but we have it right now. Like that's a good get for Nintendo for sure. That's the one that caught my eye. But Angel, there are a couple that caught your eye, right?
Kind of. I mean, Happy Game caught my eye, but literally just in that sense, it just caught my eye because of the really kind of trippy art style. It just looks creepy, and
it reminded me a little of Little Inferno.
It does appeal to my sensibilities in a way. I did Bold Boy because of that same kind of creepy aesthetic, which is kind of the same kind of game. It's like a puzzle game, but it's more of a point and click adventure. This one may be similar. I mean, it does look like you're just solving various puzzles to get from screen to screen of various creepy looking things. But
yep,
I don't know if I'm getting it, but it did grab my attention. So it's in my radar. I don't know. It might be one of those games that if I ever see on sale, I may just grab it for the right price.
It certainly was one of the more standout games in terms of its aesthetic. I'll give you that. And I was researching it a little. Apparently, this is my favorite part of the description. So you're right, it is you go room to room and solve puzzles, but apparently it will feature, quote, creepy songs and screeches from the Czech freak folk band DVA. Did anyone else not know there was a genre of music called freak folk?
There's all sorts of genres out there now.
Wait, you both spoke at once. What?
No, I'm surprised you didn't know.
Oh, you knew, Angel? What were you saying, Kevin?
There's all sorts of genres out there, man.
I don't really know how to wrap my head around what freak folk is, because folk is very mellow. So is it heavy folk? Because at that point, is it just rock?
Give it a listen. Report back.
I guess I'll check out DVA on. Okay. I'll check it out. I'll hop on Apple Music.
Damn, you might become a freak folk fanatic, and
who knows? Yeah, maybe DVA is gonna be my new favorite band and usurp Linkin Park. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, unlike
and that for anyone listening is a barometer of what my taste is. So take my impressions with a grain of salt if you don't like Linkin Park. Yeah. But
unlike Happy Game though, another game that caught my eye, kind of the same reason for aesthetic, but this one made me feel more I kind of want to play this game, but I'm referring to Alba, the Wildlife Adventure. I mean, it's essentially a let's clean the planet and help the planet game. You play as titular Alba, and you're pretty much going through a very simplistic art style CG that looks really nice, very cartoony, but very simple shapes. And you're going to the beach. You're freeing seagulls that are caught in the plastic can holders. You're helping beached dolphins, picking up trash. doesn't sound that great when I'm describing it. But
well, I mean, try describing Mario Sunshine.
But watching the trailer, parkour through an island and clean trash. I don't know. That sounds pretty cool. With a jetpack. Yeah, this one you don't have a jetpack. You're just a kid using kid powers. You know, the power of running and talking to people. And I don't know. I don't know why, but like, I just kind of liked it enough to go like, I want to keep an eye on it. I don't know. I think it's just weird. I guess I'm just not used to seeing a game that you're directly addressing a problem that's actually happening in the world. Maybe there are some that I'm blinking out on, but I mean, and there obviously are games that do this. But this one is probably more in your face on the whole, like, yeah, this is something that we probably do need to do. Even though it's not saying directly, like, please save the planet. I mean, the game is just about that. But,
right.
I don't know. It just seems really nice and polished. I just like looking at it. And, I don't know, maybe I'll check it out. Not enough yet for me to go, like, nothing in the direct and me go, like, yes, I'm getting that. And, I mean, if anything, it probably would have also been Spelunky 2, but I was already planning on getting that on PC at some point, just so I could play with Elvis, but, yeah.
I think you certainly had an eye for a good developer, though, because I believe Alba's the one made by the Monument Valley team. And the Monument Valley team, or at least it's published by the same people, Monument Valley is a great little puzzle game on iPhone, as is its sequel. So like that was a good one to call out, because that's a very good developer. I don't know. I'm trying to think if there are any other games that jumped out to me, and I don't know. Like, one that kind of caught my eye. It caught my eye because it sort of embodied a few trends that I sort of noticed in the presentation. The first trend is cats. I mean, there were a lot of cats and cat puns in this indie world.
Oh yeah, and, I noticed that. That was so weird.
Right? Like, there was Fisti-Fluffs, which is what I'm about to talk about, and there's Calico. And Fisti-Fluffs is like a physics-based brawler, and then the latter one, Calico, you run your own cat cafe. But what are the odds when there's only like 17 games, 12 of which you're actually talking about? Yes, a cat fae. But yeah, why were there so many cats? And like, as you guys know, I love me some bad puns. And I do now live with multiple
you guys know,
cats.
I love cats. I'll have 3 of them.
Well, I do now live with multiple cats, and I do love bad puns, so I can appreciate this cat overload. But what I thought was kind of interesting is that multiple people texted me after your presentation about Fisti-Fluffs, which does look like it can be a total like blast if you have, you know, local multiplayer, and then they're going to add online later on. And there's actually this neat mode called Kibble Defense, which is a horde mode where you and your cats and your wonky physics, as you know, do whatever the cats do, fight, I guess, have to fend off waves of rats. So that's kind of an interesting riff on that sort of like wacky physics multiplayer beat 'em up game. But that in and of itself was the other thing that Fisti-Fluffs embodied for me, which was our old complaint of like every indie being a 2D artsy side scroller may be dead, but there seems to be a new genre filling that void, which is crazy local multiplayer physics based games. And there's kind of like 2 paths that they've gone down. There's like competitive ones and cooperative ones. And
ever since Game Beast came out, I feel like they've definitely been more prominent.
And frankly, Fisti-Fluffs is this. It is cat gang beasts. It is cat humans fall flat. It is cat, you know, like anything with like that sort of wacky physics. And having a horde mode with Kibble Defense actually is kind of a cool riff on it. But, you know, that's one route where a lot of these games are picking up, which is like the competitive. And then the other, it also involves physics but in a slightly different way, is basically what the game Very, Very, Very Valet was in the presentation, where you and up to 3 friends have to park cars quickly. You know, it's like a co-op version of this sort of physics thing, in the same way that Overcooked is, or Moving Out is, or Tools Up is, or even they very briefly showed in the sizzle reel, it looks like a game called Trash Sailors, where you're kind of sailing on a raft together at 4 people and you have to do tasks. Like, it's sort of like task-based, but things are a little wacky with physics, is like the other side of the coin of what Fisti-Fluffs is sort of leveraging. So it's interesting to see these trends start to like emerge, and you can actually, because we've been following it so closely, you can actually, you know, root it back to Gang Beasts, to Overcooked, and just seeing how it's iterated on is kind of interesting. I don't think it's necessarily at the 2D artsy side scroller it's overdone phase yet, but it's going that way, and it was kind of interesting to see so many games sort of leverage that. That's not to say there wasn't original stuff too. I mean, I think Happy Game that you called out looked really unique. Grindstone, which was one of the surprise releases that day. Is apparently a lot of fun as a puzzle battle game, and it has some really cool HD rumble apparently. So that was kind of interesting to see. But then the second trend I noticed, or I guess third, cats genre. Yeah, okay. The third trend I noticed is they said the word exclusive a lot in this presentation. There's exclusive features but nonetheless, they said the word exclusive a lot. You know, features like Cyber Shadow or whatever it's called, the 2D Yacht Club Games published side-scroller action game, has exclusive amiibo support. Fisti-Fluffs and Super Meat Boy Forever and Very Very Valet all have timed console launch exclusives. Like, it's interesting because to me what it's showing is Nintendo not only succeeded in what I wanted to do of attracting indies and finding new games to highlight, it's now getting to the point where they are signing deals with these indies because they actually see potential in these games potentially moving systems or collectively being enough to convince someone to buy a Switch. And that seems like a new layer of indie support they're now reaching. So that was kind of my overall takeaways from the presentation. But yeah, Fisti-Fluffs I'm kind of into Kibble Defense now that I think about it. That could actually be kind of fun. So that's all I really had on the Indie World Showcase, unless you guys had anything else.
No.
Which brings us then to our final Random Nintendo podcast segment of 2020, our Game of the Year picks. So we are each, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, selecting a single release from 2020 on Nintendo Switch that stood out above the rest for us personally. For our picks of everything else, be it games on other systems, other forms of media, things we experienced this year that aren't from this year, don't miss Quarantine Chronicles Quarantinis next weekend. We'll have that up on the 20... I love that name. That was a great name for it, Kevin, Quarantinis. And I believe we will have that up on...
That sounds like a drink.
I think the 27th. It does. And I think we should all drink martinis while doing the quarantinis.
I don't...
but for this... you make while you're in quarantine, so you know what the quarantini...
Well, it rhymes. It's just because it rhymes. We could do any drink you want.
Yeah, and I don't like... Have you actually had a martini before?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, but I would do it in the name of the rhyme.
I had a martini at the Cheesecake Factory. I think it was like a dry martini. It was easily the worst alcoholic drink I've ever had in my life. And I've had literally some crap, dude.
It's literally just pure alcohol with like an olive, basically.
Yeah, disgusting.
Yeah, so not martinis, but we'll quarantinis. We'll have to have drinks.
It's what like I assume tonics from Red Dead Redemption taste like. Like mixed with gasoline. Isn't that James Bond's
is a powerful
favorite drink?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Shaken, not stirred.
Shaken, not stirred. Yeah.
Okay, I think I had a stirred martini. Maybe that was the issue there.
Try shaken. But yeah, I don't really like them either, to be honest. But I just love the rhyme. But anyway, we'll do the quarantinis with or without martinis next weekend. But for now, for this episode, we're talking Switch. Who wants to go first?
I guess I could go first since I already pretty much said
you sort of
what I needed to say earlier.
Yeah,
so as I mentioned earlier, I don't really have a game that I would give this award to this year as far as like Nintendo releases. But I guess if I had to pick one that I've been enjoying and had probably the best chance of receiving that, I'd probably give it to No Straight Roads. No Straight Roads. I pretty much beat it. I'm literally on the last level. And it's a rhythm game. Like, I love rhythm games that aren't necessarily revolve around licensed tracks. And this one does have original music. Like, there is music with lyrics at times. But a lot of times it's just, like, original compositions of just different genres. Mostly around EDM. Because the game revolves around a band called Bunk Bed Junction. And they love rock. They're a rock band. And they're trying to make it big in the city. And unfortunately for them, like, the city is controlled by essentially EDM is like the top like genre. So anyone that doesn't do that is pretty much exiled. And the game basically takes the shape of a boss rush mode. You essentially go level to level, fighting, going down. It's like an anime. Like level 1, you're fighting this DJ that his theme is all planets and like very catchy beats, and you pretty much go through his planet themed level and you fight his planet themed attacks. And spectacle wise, it's pretty cool. I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't have like the best performance. Like, performance-wise, frame rate and that kind of stuff. But it does look pretty... I mean, I'm also playing it on the Switch. This also could... It's on everything else, I imagine. PC, Xbox, PlayStation. So that
3DO?
could have been resolved. But...
You said I imagine 3DO?
I don't know. Anything that I imagine. And I kind of wish it ran a little better on the Switch, but it's actually not that bad. Probably the only part that's like the most egregious, I think I used that word, right? Is when you're in the lair, like kind of, I guess it's not really your hub world, it's more like just like your break area. In between each level, you go to the lair, which is the sewers, and you could get information on your next task. You could upgrade your character's skill tree. You could add stickers to change your attacks, and just kind of, or just like go to your decorations or feed a pet animal, or just learn more about the backstory of these two characters. And that area is super fuzzy looking. Like everything about it just looks like it screams low resolution. It's almost like that area alone is like 240 and everything else in the game is like 720. But besides that, like the bosses are incredibly creative and just really fun to listen to. Like you go from like EDM, like heavy techno with the first planet themed boss, and then the second boss is like a Japanese inspired Hatsune Miku style like AI boss, where it's all cutesy and it kind of has like a song that kind of goes with that aesthetic. And then then you go through other interesting bosses. You fight like a boy band of robots, and it's very over the top. All the enemies and attacks that you're experiencing, like the world around you goes to the beat of the music, so everything is timed to the music. The only thing that isn't timed to that is you. Like you can move freely, you can attack whenever you want. It's not like Crypt of the Necro Dancer. It's not like that game where all your attacks have to land on a specific beat, otherwise you whiff. Like you can attack whenever you want, but because everything else goes to the beat of the music, it is in your best interest to find the beat and keep it so that you can actually go through without dying so many times. But I don't know, it's fun, lighthearted, doesn't take it so seriously. Character designs are very interesting and very unique. And yeah, I've been really enjoying it. It's not blowing me away, but it is something that I've enjoyed enough to make me want to shout it out right now. But I don't know, maybe... I like
the curveball of a game you never talked about. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, maybe the last level will be
like,
whoa, like this is crazy. But right now, like I definitely do like it enough that I'm happy I gave it a shot. But it's not really competing with anything else. That's just kind of the thing.
Fair.
I mean, Paper Mario probably could have been it, but I stopped myself after the first chapter because
Yep. Let's just keep. Yep. Sorry, mentioned it this episode. I know. Cool. Well, Kevin, I think I can guess yours.
Yeah. I absolutely love this game. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It just really rings. No, it's Hades. Come on. Hades is probably one of my favorite games of all time, which I guess I've talked about two of my favorite games of all time. And they're both roguelikes, which I guess says something about that genre, even though I don't really like them. I don't know. Regardless, Hades, I waxed poetic about Hades a couple of episodes ago. If you want my full impressions, go back there. But I will just say Hades is something special, something that I didn't think I was going to fall in love with as hard as I did. Yeah, just play it, please.
Don't sleep on it. Would you say it's a hell of a time?
It's a hell of a time for sure.
Put that on the back of the box, Supergiant. But yeah, it's that was probably the easiest guess. Like if Angel was a total curveball with his, yours was exactly as anticipated. I bet you guys could probably guess mine. But honestly, before I even get to my choice, I do want to kind of point it. Yeah, man.
Oh,
I played more games this year. I played more games this year, I think, than I have in a long time. Or I put more hours into games this year than I have in a long time. And I think,
I think we all did. I think just that most of mine went to games I've already been playing, like Final Fantasy 14 or Smash Brothers,
or Or Splatoon on Wednesdays with you.
Oh
Angel,
or Splatoon.
Or
especially
League.
Rocket League. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, and obviously it was a very weird year that led to all this. Like in the midst of it all, there were a lot of unknowns, even in our like little Nintendo bubble. Because the company went super radio silent. We didn't really know what was going on with them for months on end. We certainly vented about it a lot. I know, man. During like the spring and summer months, it was touch and go. But yeah, in the end, I think honestly, Nintendo did deliver a surprisingly solid like B tier lineup. I mean, pretty much at their regular cadence, and there's a lot of quality releases in there. I'm not very far into Paper Mario.
Yoshi Touch and Go? You keep dropping these hints of games that have what those...
Yeah, what I'm saying is my game of the year is Jump Rope Challenge. It's the tiny... No. But no, I was going to say...
I actually believed you. I literally believed you.
No, there were honestly some quality releases this year. Like, I'm not very far into Paper Mario, as Angel has pointed out multiple times. But, like, I think there's a quality game in there I will eventually maybe get to. And, like, Mario 3D All-Stars was good, and I really abnormally enjoy Clubhouse games. And, on the Smart Scale, I do the Game & Watches. Dude, it's a great clock. I've been using it as a clock every day since I bought it. It's great. And I've been playing it from time to time, but it's great as a clock. The watch of Game & Watch is solid. And on a smaller scale, like, there's games we forgot about because, like, this year was so weird. Like, Good Job was a really fun little puzzle game.
Wait.
What?
Was the original Game & Watch an actual, like, clock as well?
Yeah, that's where the
game
name comes
and
from.
A watch.
Yeah.
Mind blown, dude. I thought it was just, like, game and watch what you're playing.
No, it's Game and Watch.
There's literally a time button and a game button.
Yeah, always.
It was never a wristwatch.
Yeah. I'm glad we were able to really change your life this episode.
Well, you learn something new every day, I guess.
You really do.
I mean, I guess it works on both levels.
That,
but yeah.
I don't know how I come back from that revelation. But yeah, like, I wanted to shout out the small games like Good Job and Pokemon Cafe Mix, fun little puzzle games. But
dude, you're stretching this so long, I'm going to be underwhelmed. This year was
the year I really rediscovered multiplayer games. Like, we already referenced Splatoon and Rocket League. And really what was at the forefront of that and what sort of kicked it all off was Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Oh.
And I mean, why are you surprised? Why are you disappointed? I've had admittedly
that's a really good pick. Honestly, I honestly forgot that was this year.
Well,
this year's felt like 10 years, but
I'll explain why. I'll explain why it's significant for me. I guess because I've had a
I said it's a good pick. I was expecting something out of left field for some reason.
No, not at all.
No, yeah, it's a great game. It's definitely deserving of a game of the year.
Yeah, it's a great game. Quiet Jason, it's a great game. It's great. Anyway, no, but I do buy each Animal Crossing. I do play each Animal Crossing, but the time I invest into those games fluctuates wildly. Like, no pun intended. Like, generally speaking, I think I spend more time in the handheld ones than the console ones. So it coming to Switch, obviously it bridges that gap a bit, which meant I was going to have a decent shot at sinking some time into it. But what really got me hooked was, for better or worse, the initial lockdowns and quarantines, and through pure serendipity, like, Nintendo created this alternate world where people could go hang out and do things that they couldn't do in the real world. They could design a home, they could see their friends, they could work on collecting things, fish or fossils, what have you. They could design stuff. And what tied it all together was that everyone else was doing it too in that moment, which, so far sounds like I'm getting a testament to the cultural moment of the year more than my game of the year. But I think the part that can't be overstated enough is that Nintendo had to really nail the vision of how this all works for it to excel at the rate it did. Like, Nintendo needed to have a game that had so much charm and personality to get people into its world. And really the look and feel of New Horizons and all the attention to detail and the little HD flourishes, like, that really visually stood out compared to the other ones to me. And, like, they needed to have the additional gameplay loop of crafting, which, while not perfect, like, seriously, can we please do multiple items at once? But, having that new layer compelled at least me to keep going for just one more item, one more thing every time I played, which had me playing longer. And I really feel like needed to bake in easy abilities to share designs and patterns so that people customize from the ground up, which remains perhaps the only actual useful part of the Switch Online phone app, is that you can actually scan these. And as bizarre as this will now sound, I honestly feel they needed that drip feed of updates, adding swimming, adding Red and Leaf and other new visitors, adding holidays to sort of keep everyone in pace with one another, even if, yes, people put in way more hours than others or time traveled or did whatever. It kind of made sure that the broader interconnected island ecosystem of Animal Crossing was sort of lockstep, even within those because of those restrictions. So I'm not saying Animal Crossing is perfect. Like, it does have fewer features than other entries. Like, where are the gyroids? Like, seriously, where are the gyroids? They're an Animal Crossing staple. It's been 9 months and there's not a single gyroid. Like, what? But what I'm actually getting at here is that I think through all these design choices and through some ridiculously lucky timing on Nintendo's part, they create an experience that was not just really fun to play, but one that was so fun because everyone else was sort of lockstep playing it too. Like, friends I rarely talk to on a regular basis. I was visiting their islands at the start of quarantine. Like, big companies, art curators, designers, brands, they were all engaged and letting me do things in the island, with my island, in ways that I bet Nintendo never even imagined. And we were all basically in this thing together, and it made for an Animal Crossing experience that really felt more like a new generation Animal Crossing in my mind than what other entries may have done, or maybe even what Nintendo anticipated. And for that reason, for this whole, like, for everything Nintendo put in motion with their design choices and then how the zeitgeist kind of ran with it, that's why New Horizons is my game of the year. Because it was just like the right thing at the right time with the right layering, both internally from Nintendo and from external factors. And it was really cool. Like, it's one of those things like Pokemon Go where it's just like, oh yeah, that was that one couple months there where Animal Crossing just took over, and like it was a huge part of my life in that chunk of time. So that's my game of the year, Animal Crossing.
Cool.
Yeah. So I guess that's it for this episode. Thank you.
That's it for this year.
That's it for this year of the Ram Nintendo podcast. But next episode of Quarantine Chronicles is this coming Sunday on the 20. What day did I say? 27th, I think. And then Ram Nintendo will be back at the start of, literally right at the start of 2021. January 3rd will be our next episode. Yeah, so the only last order of business is we're going to close out the year with a little giveaway.
Don't we usually have like a 1 week holiday break for New Year's, right after New Year's break? No?
Nope, we've never done that. No, we've never taken a break, except that one quarantine we skipped. But we've never taken a Ram Nintendo break.
I guess not on the year that would be our 10th year anniversary.
Yeah, next year will mark 10 years around Nintendo, which is crazy. But one thing we're doing before we get to 2021, right in time for the holidays, is we are going to do a giveaway on our Twitter. So keep an eye out at the Ram Nintendo Twitter, which is literally at Ram Nintendo, because we are going to be giving away. Granted, it came with my Pro Controller. It's not some special thing. But for anyone who still needs Mario Odyssey or needs to re-gift the download code for Mario Odyssey, it's a great game. It was my game of the year a couple years ago. We are going to give away a full copy of Mario Odyssey, a download code. So keep an eye on our Twitter. All you need to do is retweet and follow to enter once the tweet is up. It's our, I guess, little gift to listeners, plus an easy way for me to get rid of a download code I have. So, you know. But that's how much you mean to us. We're doing it as like, I need to get rid of this, to the Twitter. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. But honestly, it's been a weird year for Nintendo. So thank you for everyone that tuned in and listened to our rants and raves about how weird it's been throughout the year. And hopefully in 2020, we were sort of a refuge of sorts from some of the crazy of the world and just us nerding out about things. But yeah, you can make sure that you don't miss anything in future episodes by, again, following us on Nintendo or subscribing to us on the various podcast apps. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Pandora. Our YouTube is randomnintendo.com. We are individually on Twitter, where I don't think any of us are individually giving away game codes, but maybe we are. I'm JSR7, Angels
we definitely do have a lot of game codes to give away
_O.
next episode.
Do we?
Remember, we just never give them away. I got like a random assortment of I think 9 or 10 codes of just like.
It almost sounds like that'd be perfect for Quarantine Chronicles. Just
it would be for Quarantine Chronicles because the random PC.
But anyways, right. Yeah. So make sure to follow. Yeah, make sure to follow all the channels. I didn't mention Kevin yet. He's KVN Gomi, and I think that just about does it. Kevin, any final words?
Happy holidays, happy new year. The huge at the end of every year.